disappointed in every one of you.
I'm sorry, I don't mean to offend you.
I'm disappointed in every one of you.
I kiss you on the mouth.
No, I'm not cool with that. I'm sorry.
One more time.
I'm disappointed in every one of you.
I mean, I'm dealing with degenerate animals.
I'm disappointed in every one of you. Disappointed in every one of you.
All right, come on.
Honestly, I can't do it, man.
I'm disappointed in every one of you.
Let me tell you why.
It's gonna be all right, Nicky. Go ahead, shoot.
You just killed a fucking man.
What are you going to do about it?
Yeah, because you got nothing. You don't got a thing. Yeah, because you got nothing. Lobito! You got nothing.
I want to get out. I want to get out of this rat hole. I want to get online. I need
BDA boxing.
All right. Whoa, welcome everybody to another Boxing Podcast, broadcasting to you live from the True North. It's your good friend, Mr. BDA, and I sure am glad that everybody could be on board for this one, fellas. In this episode, we got fantastic news for you. On top of a little boxing talk for some of the events, some of the fights actually that are going to be taking place this weekend. But before we get down to the fun, you guys know the drill. We got to get the business out of the way. If you want to donate a couple of shekels our way, you're certainly welcome to do so with the Super Chat feature. Although it's always better if you join the membership program or the Patreon. That way you get more bang for your buck. But the most important thing is you continue to like, subscribe, and you spread that BDA gospel, all right, fellas? Hey, don't forget you can check us out on Spotify, iTunes, and Spreaker at your leisure. All right, fellas? And we're going to be opening up the phone lines near the end of the hour, perhaps, depending on how things go. So you guys can call in and give us your thoughts on everything going on in the boxing world. And let's give a big shout out to everybody in the chat. We got some anointed ones in there. We got Earl Stevens in the house. Shout out to Earl. We got Sergeant, the Boxing Sicario, Jesus M, Knockout Ned, Mr. Dodos, Alfredo Contreras, El Pachuco, Paja. Who else we got? Some Rando. Shout out to Some Rando. Another. Hold on a second. Excuse me. Gotta put a stop to the music here. Another one of the initiated. Never Sobers in the house as well. Shout out to him. Troll Boxing Media. Skull Kid 25. Quentin Lassiter, OG Blaze in the house. Shout out to OG Blaze, Jacques Cousteau, Omar E, Bray. How many more people to come, I'm sure, fellas. Thank you for joining us. Really appreciate it. All right. Let me call a couple of people here, and we'll see how we work this out. Because, again, big news for most of you, I mean, some of you, rather, that might have been living under a rock. Jaron Ennis just signed a deal with Matchroom Boxing. Jaron Ennis, of course, one of the top lightweights in the world, one of the top hopefuls from America. American boxing right now needs exciting fighters, doesn't really have that many. And so he's one of the ones that people are looking forward to carry the sport in the American nation. But his career was stagnating with the PBC. Now, there's a bit of a controversy here, because I know some people are saying, hey, BDA, he's not a PBC guy. Well, I'm going to clarify that for people that might be a little out of the loop. Just a little bit. Well, hold on a second. I'm just inviting a couple of people here. I'm going to share the screen here with you guys here. All right, so let me just clarify the issue here, because people are saying, yeah, but Jaron Ennis isn't a PBC guy. This is what happened not that long ago, when BLK Prime, or Black Prime, decided to put up the money or try to make a Crawford-Ennis fight, which you shall remember, Ennis declined. He didn't want to fight Crawford. He decided to go through and explore other avenues. But he said this. He said, we was trying to set up a fight with him, that's Terence Crawford, last month because the BLK people called us. They said, let's sit down and talk. I said, oh, you got to talk to my people first through Showtime. I'm loyal to Showtime. I'm going to tell y'all, I never signed nothing with Showtime. My word is my bond. Yeah. 3-fight deal, and whatever we say, we do it. You know, a lot of people want Boots from the zone to Top Rank. All of them wanted Boots. Okay, so that was Bozy Ennis, by the way. That's not Jaron Ennis. So they're saying Showtime. Now, when they, at that time, when that was going on with Showtime, what did you think when they said Showtime? Did you think Golden Boy? Did you think Eddie Hearn? Did you think any of the other European promotions? No. You thought PBC. Okay? And then, not that long ago, in December, Eddie Hearn was already thinking about signing Jaron Ennis. And he said, or actually in the article they said, Ennis' future is not entirely clear because his longtime broadcaster Showtime is getting out of the boxing business at the end of the year. Ennis, whose promoter of record is Cameron Duncan, was unusual in that he was giving significant broadcasting slots on Showtime, even though he was not formally aligned with Al Heyman's premier boxing champions. Then it said that Bozy Ennis, the father of Jaron Ennis, was not forthcoming about Ennis' next steps, but he indicated to boxing scene that his son would go wherever outgoing Showtime Sports head Steven Espinoza took him. Espinoza, for his part, has hinted at the possibility that he could remain involved in boxing. Now again, Espinoza, who was he dick riding for all these years? Al Heyman, PBC. So the connection's there. It just wasn't done officially on paper, but for all intents and purposes, Ennis is a PBC guy, and that's why I think, because, you know, listen, we're living in the modern boxing world here. People have allegiances to promotional outfits. Oh, people defend PBC at all costs. Some people defend Hearn at all costs. Some people defend Golden Boy at all costs, and on these things goes. I really don't care about it. I call it like I see it, and the way I see it is the PBC was doing Ennis no favors. And one of the big things that I've often heard about Ennis and his inability to get a fight was, well, nobody wants to fight him. Well, guess what? Very few of the top guys like Cotto, Felix Sturm, Canelo, they didn't want to fight Triple G. And yet somehow they found a way to give him some fights. But with Ennis, they couldn't even do it. And then on top of that, you saw a pattern. It wasn't just Ennis they couldn't get a fight for. Couldn't get a fight for Charlo, couldn't get a fight for Stephen Fulton, like year-long layoffs, Stanionis, and on this thing of ours goes. So this is one of the best bits of news we've had in a while, with Ennis finally signing with a competent promoter that should manage to get him some activity. I see we got Jimmy and Sobers here. Jimmy, what do you make of this news? And also maybe if you could explore a little bit of the area of how come we didn't hear any about this yesterday or before yesterday or the past week. It seems like they kept this thing well under wraps.
Well, obviously he was signed to Espinoza and Showtime, and like you said, and signed to Crow. So Cameron, and he sued them his wife to get out of the contract because Cameron died. So I think that judgment just went down. There was money paid. There was some other things. We found out that in his contract, like most boxing contracts, not the PBC, mind you, I got to state that. It's another reason why he wasn't a PBC fighter, even though he fought exclusively under their banner. So that's, for all intents and purposes, he was. But the business aspect of his contract, he was signed to the Showtime, and Showtime gave him a contract that most fighters get, meaning they allocate a number of certain fights per year. And with him, I believe it was 3 in 1 year and 4. And of course, they barely came up with 1. So they owed him all kinds of back money. All right, for instance, I'll show you how that works. I'll point out one of the situations. Bob Arum, because of the COVID situation, Crawford was like, I still want my money. I'm going to either get 3 fights or so many fights, 2 fights a year, whatever it was, or I'm going to get the money. So Heyman, that's the reason why, Arum had Crawford fight in an empty place. Because he knew that, like, nobody wants to fight in an empty place. But it's like, well, if you're going to fucking make me pay you. And at the end, he ended up having to pay him almost $7 million guaranteed for that fight. I believe it was against the kid from the PBC who just retired, the one that Spence fought, but Porter. So he had to pay him a ton of money because that was 2 fight guarantees he had to pay him. Like he held Bob to everyone. So that was a position that Boots was in. He's like, listen, Cameron's dead. The Showtime's defunct. You motherfuckers owe me for at least 4 fight guaranteed purses, whatever that guarantee might have been, probably 350, 500,000. Like, because when you sign a contract, those are supposed to be fights. And I'm sure he was suing Cameron's people. Like, what are they suing for? Just, you're not with him anymore. I'm like, he's suing the estate for his back pay. And Showtime's defunct. He couldn't go after them. And Espinoza, he's just a figurehead. So that, I guess, all just got worked out. And people automatically assumed that he was going with the PBC. And you know how I know that? Because the people who are fans of PBC were still talking about him as a PBC fighter, what he was, who was ducking ass. But it's funny because I was just went on Twitter when I found this all out. And he's telling these people, he wasn't a PBC fighter. Yes, he was. Yes, he was. Make no mistake about it. He was. You counted him as one. In fact, all the Spence fans lined up to say that, like that meme I saw of them all jumping off one boat onto another boat. It was Spence and the other one was him. So yeah, it's ridiculous, dude. But that was brilliant. Good on him. I mean, we've all known he's a talented fighter, right? We know that. It was just the moves this kid made. You're like, and it's the PBC. When a fighter like Matisse, you got champions before they even peaked, jumping ship. When in boxing history can you remember that ever happening in such numbers? It doesn't happen. It's because they see the writing on the wall. The reason there is no new young blood signing with Heyman, because they can see the writing wall. Nobody wants to go near this fucking organization. And those who can get out are getting out, but good on him.
The big thing with Jaron Ennis was always, well, how good is he? Because, there's people out there that believe that he's the anointed one. And he may very well may be, but guess what? We won't know until he fights somebody. And over there at the PBC, there was plenty of blame going around. Oh, it's Crowley doesn't want the fight. Oh, Barrios doesn't want the fight. Oh, it's they can't find them anybody. And then when Ennis had a chance to fight Crawford, he didn't want to fight him, or somebody from his team decided against it. So now finally, the red tape has been cut. And I just want to give a big shout out to Chief, Boxing Chief too, because he said this about a year and a half ago, before the Showtime closed shop with boxing. He said, you're going to start seeing the PBC now cleaning inventory. Guys that they can't promote or don't want to promote, they're going to start cutting the costs. And that's the other thing, though, because when people said about Ennis, well, they can't find him a fight, I don't think they had the money or the infrastructure to make a fight for him. So it's good to see that. We're going to continue talking about that. But before we do that, fellas, don't forget to hit the like. It really helps us out. Like I said, we're going to be opening up the phone lines near the end of the hour. And but Jimmy, now, what does this mean for Jaron Ennis? Like, what do you expect is going to happen? Are you going to get him a bit of a softer touch to start off, maybe get some of the rust off, or you think they're going to sink or swim type scenario?
Well, I guarantee. Yeah, well, no, not definitely off this. That's not Eddie Hearn's way. He coddles his guys. You know what I mean? And Eddie knows this kid's a talent. He's big for welterweight. I think right now he'll dominate the division, especially with Crawford out of it. The only beef would be Virgil Ortiz, right? That would be the big fight there. And they're both with DAZN. So that fight can be made. But neither one of them are going to want that fight right away. I mean, for obvious reasons. We wouldn't be getting it. I don't want it right away. Like, I'm sure people say, fuck that, get it right away. No, why would you? You're not going to see either one of them at their best. As a boxing fan, I want to see these guys when they're at their fucking, well, I don't know if we can see them at their best, but we can see them better than what they would be if they're fucking, what is Ortiz got one round in 2 years? And fucking, yeah, and Boots has been just matched soft as puppy shit for too long. I would put him in there against somebody he's going to have to work against. Don't put him in there against a no-hoper you're just going to blast out. Put him in there, you're going to get somebody you want to get him some rounds with, but not a real chance of him winning. You know what I mean? So you would have to still say a soft touch. The same thing for Ortiz. And then right away get them into, I mean, I don't know if you want to do two, like in a 6-month period, match these guys fast and furious, get them fucking with there's no ring rust, and then match them. Match them when they're in their prime, at the fucking right age, not when they're in their mid-30s. And I'm really, so when I heard that's the first thing my brain went to. But it's between those two, and as far as I'm concerned, and there's some good young blood welterweights coming up too. So, but that's exactly how I'd run it. What say you?
Well, I want to hear from Sobers. Sobers is here. Sobers, what do you make of this news? Do you have any hope here now? Does this rekindle a little bit your passion for boxing? What do you make of this?
Well, I'm really excited to see Jaron Ennis on the DAZN broadcast. You know what I mean? He's
Absolutely.
Real good. I'm just playing, right? I'm not too interested in seeing. I mean, honestly, it is good
Oh, man.
in the sense that that you can start seeing. He wasn't really, like you're saying, he wasn't really a PBC fighter, but he was, but he was. He wasn't, but he was. You know what I mean? So him leaving, Deontay Wilder leaving, these guys branching out, that's a good sign. These guys are going to try to get active through other, avenues besides just waiting on the shelf. And him being at DAZN could open up a fight with guys that we'd want to see. I think he'd do good. He would have a good fight with Liam Paro. Verge Ortiz, maybe if he eventually moves up in weight, they could see each other. Who's the other guy right there? I don't know. Maybe Richardson Hitchens goes up and they fight each other, right?
Yeah,
But,
you know what? You never know. Yeah, they've got history.
Yeah, so, it opens up avenues for more fights, you know what I mean? So, fights that we want to see. And that they weren't going to happen waiting on Amazon and now Heyman. So, overall, I guess it's a good thing for him in his career. And I guess if you like boxing, if you like him, it's good. You're going to see him sooner than later, that's for sure. Maybe they put him in there with Argentinian. Oh, no, that guy came from 135. Never mind. I was thinking about Lemos, but...
Nah, he's too small. By the way, some people were telling me, the PBC 2023. Well, I don't know. Right now, it's looking like 2023 was like this. And then this is 2024. I don't know. Can they still get it up? That's my question. Hopefully they can, because more boxing makes a happy BDA. Less boxing, that type of BDA you don't want to mess with. Let's just put it that way. All right, now listen. Don't forget to hit the like, fellas. Hit the like. It really helps us out. Now, here's the other thing that I'm interested in. Because immediately when I heard this news, I said, how about Jaron Ennis versus Conor Benn? This is a fight that maybe Hearn would be amenable to make. You never know. Hey, why not? What's he going to do with Conor Benn? His reputation is a little bit solid. Maybe he doesn't have as much confidence in him as he used to before. Now he's got Jaron Ennis. It's win-win for him. And if they hold it in the UK, it could be a Gerald McClellan versus Nigel Benn type scenario. Two aggressive fighters going at it undefeated. Well, they weren't undefeated then, but these two guys are undefeated, so that just makes it better on paper. That's something that could happen. What do you guys think? Is that something that's possible, feasible at this point, or?
Was Conor Benn's last fight at 154 or 160? I'm not sure. He looks small for his weight class that he's in.
Yeah, I believe he was at some sort of catch weight above 147.
Yeah, I don't think he's been at welterweight. He was trying to fight Eubanks Jr. at 160, so I'm not sure where they'll meet up at if they do fight. I'm not sure if Ben has a hard time making 147 or not, or if he's going to stay there.
Mm-hmm.
And who knows what they'll do with Ennis? Who knows if he'll stay at 147, or who knows if he'll move up? But I do think that's a fight to make. Go ahead, Jimmy. My bad.
Oh, no. Yeah, I'm sorry. I was kind of jumping in on what you're saying.
Don't apologize to him.
The thing is, if he's going to, like you said, go. Well, if you're going to go to 154, go there then. Don't come back down. Right? No, but I think that's what he might want to do anyways. There's no way that fucking dude's getting down to 147 still healthy or in his best fighting shape. I would imagine he probably wants to go to 154 anyways. Right, because we were talking about him 147. I believe was his last fight at 154 or was it 147?
Who are you talking about, Ennis or Ben?
Ennis, yeah.
Ennis
Ben
was
is
147.
That kid's a fucking
Ennis
domestic level talent who's living off his father's name.
Ennis was 147. Now, I must say, I overlooked an important detail here. Shout out to Del Boy, a.k.a. Disturbed Reality. Conor would have to fight in the States, he says, because he still hasn't got a British license. That's true. Although, call me crazy, but I think if they smell money based on this fight, I think you'd see the BBOC or whatever it's called all of a sudden change their mind and give him a license. Maybe that's something that they'd be open to. I don't know, but yeah, you're right. That's a detail I forgot that Ben is not fighting.
I would imagine Yeah, bring him to you. Bring him to US. Right, bring him to Philly. Have him fight in fucking Ennis's backyard, man. Try to get the Philly. I don't know, man. Or maybe.
Do you remember,
now,
Jimmy?
but
Do you
it's,
remember what Fulton
pretty
said
bad
about
now.
Philly? Remember what Fulton said about Philly fans?
Yeah, yeah.
They don't
It's just
support their
it's
own.
been fragmented. It's a lot of streets aren't very safe there now. I don't know if they'd really want to hold something. Unfortunately, it's how it is when you have an extremely high crime rate. It forces businesses don't want to hold events and shit there. You know, so they're going to go to other places. But anyways, yeah, I would bring him to the States. But the thing I wouldn't do with Ennis is say, well, you haven't fought in a while. Instead of having to diet down to 147, fight at 154. That'd be a mistake. If you plan on bringing him back to 147, just a bad idea. Don't have your fighter fight at a fucking whole different weight class and then squeeze him back down. It doesn't usually work well for you. Your body gets used to that. You go and you have a hard fight at 154, and then you have to weasel weight another 7 pounds off. Oof, your next fight. And he's getting older. Every time he does, it's going to get harder. He's going to hit the wall eventually. Imagine if he signs for a 147-pound fight after he fights at 154, then he hits his training camp, and he's passing out at 153. What is he going to do? You know? So I would, if he goes 154, stay there. But if he stays 147, have him fight anybody else. Either way, I mean, he bashes the shit out of Conor Benn. I don't even think that's really that tough of a fight. I just really not high on Conor Benn. I just think he does everything average. He's a bit chinny. I just think he's living off his old man's name. No, hey, good on him. If you can make some turn a buck to it, not going to shit on anybody's way to make money. You know, he's obviously turned it into good fortune. He got some good pay out of it, but I think fucking Boots Ennis would knock the shit out of him.
I like that Conor Benn fight because Ennis does keep his hands low. His defense is sporadic. He's not like Virgil Ortiz, who keeps his hands up, just nice all-around technique. And he does hit harder than Benn, but I'd still like to see that fight. I think Conor Benn is a very assertive and tenacious fighter. I call him the Wolverine because, like Sober said, he's kind of short for his weight, but he like a Wolverine. He just jumps all over people, and I'd like to see that fight. I think that would be a good step up for both guys. Whoever wins probably does get some shine off of that. I will say this too. I wanted to introduce this other subject or aspect, facet of this endeavor, which is that with Eddie Hearn now, Matchroom and DAZN, they've got a line to Saudi money. And you know the Saudis now, they're just pumping out money. Fights that used to be difficult or there were obstacles to make. Now all of a sudden, whoop, money is involved, and yep, all those avenues open up. So that's the other hope there, that with Ennis, with the DAZN and the Saudi Arabian connection, we might get to see some big fights involving him. I mean, that's the only, really, when people say, well, how do you become a mainstream star, a boxing mainstream star? You know, so often people think, oh, I'll talk a lot. Because Mayweather did, that's what I'll do. We even had callers call in and say, oh yeah, Mayweather was famous because people paid to see him lose, which I never understood that. That sounds like, that's an urban legend that people just keep repeating. Blair Cobbs talked a lot. He didn't exactly draw in a lot of crowds. So you have to, it's a couple of factors. You have to be, yes, you have to have some character. You have to have the skills and the talent. And then on top of that, you have to fight the best. And that was the main problem with Ennis. He wasn't fighting at all. So now with Eddie Hearn, a competent promoter, and with perhaps some Saudi money coming in, he might still have a shot. I mean, he's still relatively young. How old is he? 27, 28?
27. He's prime. I mean, he's not even hit his prime, actually. He's walking into his prime. And here's the thing, too, right? I know I called one kid who was real tight with the Philly fucking scene, right? And I can tell you what and he said this to me before, he's been dejected, like going into camp all bummed out. He hasn't liked boxing in a while. And he pointed out a good thing to me. He's the one who said, just look at him when he first came on to Showtime, bouncing around up on his toes, flashy outfits, all happy and shit, big smiles on his face. Goes, that kid's been gone for the last 3 or 4 fights. He hasn't been happy with how they've matched him, how infrequent. Every interview, he's all like, I just want to fight a lot. And also, I guess even like the shit his father was caught with the Crawford stuff, supposedly he wasn't even the one Like they would kind of pressure him to mention his name. He just said every aspect of how he was being handled. And that's Cameron too. That's not Al Heyman, because it would be Cameron pushing that shit. He didn't like it. So now put yourself in his mindset. He's an extremely talented kid. He's long, he hits hard, and now he's going to be happy because someone's going to be paying him bigger money, and he's going to be, Eddie Hearn's going to fly him over there, and he's going to make him feel important. Something nobody at the PBC feels. You can tell because they're just the way they promote you. So all of a sudden he's going to be flying out to London and shit, right? And he's going to gain a whole new fan base because a lot of people don't like PBC fighters because they don't like Al Heyman. And it's not, it's just how it goes. But I think he's going to get it over in England. He's going to like it. He's just going to be excited. I think we're going to see better from him. And that makes a big difference. Mr. BDA, how much boxing and fighting is mental. If you're not in the right mindset and you're dejected and all that, it's different than when you're all pumped up and you really want to perform now because someone will reward you for it. Before you go out there, okay, I'll knock this kid out. Then what? You got to put me on his shelf for a year anyway. What does it matter? So now this guy's going to build you. Eddie Hearn's a good promoter. He's a good promoter. I mean, I'm glad to see him building his stable up. Fucking pay for the DAZN much better. But I'm happy for the kid. I'm happy for boxing. The faster the PBC loses all their fighters, the better the sport will be.
Come on.
Am I wrong?
Well, just the way you said.
No,
First
that's
of all,
exactly what I was trying to say.
Now, wait a minute. But by the way, listen, Jimmy, you said, most fighters, boxing is mental. Yeah, I never understood that, by the way, because for me, whether I'm in it or not, or whether I'm mentally tired, whatever, I'm always knocking motherfuckers out in the gym. But I mean, I guess that's just me. But also, in terms of you're right, man. Look, Canelo said that he really enjoyed the way Hearn treats fighters. Now, other than that little snafu, that little fumble that they had a couple of months ago that resulted in Canelo going back to the PBC, he's had nothing but praise, I believe, for Eddie Hearn. The way he likes working with Eddie Hearn, not so much with Golden Boy anymore. So Hearn appears to be a consummate professional. Now, is he perfect? Is he beyond reproach? Absolutely not. But what we're saying here is he's miles better than what was going on over on the other side of the street. That's one thing for sure. Now, Jimmy, that's the other thing, though. It appears as if Ennis or somebody from his team, whatever, didn't want the Crawford fight. Crawford's a free agent now. Ennis is with DAZN. They're always they tend to make things easy when it comes to constructing fights. What are the chances we finally get Ennis versus Crawford?
That would be a good fight. That'd be a good fight. Depends on how much longer it is from now. Remember, Crawford's going to be 36, right? Is he going on 36? So the longer the time goes off, the less is people going to want that. It's a numbers game at this point with his age.
Right.
You know what I mean? He's made the money. His legacy is built. How much longer you let him get close to 40 before you take on a fucking young guy like Ennis? It's like it's either do it. So that means like it would have to be I'm just talking pragmatically and putting myself as like if I was involved with Crawford's team. I'd be like, champ, you're going to have to fight this guy. You're going to need to do it with the next 1 or 2 fights. Because by the time after that, every time it's just going to get harder and harder. And it's a numbers game, man. Father Time is undefeated. It eventually catches up to everybody. And everything, I mean, he's got great power, Crawford, but it's his timing, it's his speed, his hands. I could see him fighting comfortably into 38, 39 years old, but that's about it. After that, I would not match him against like a 31-year-old Ennis. He'd get pieced up. So that's my point is a little long-winded, but yes, he needs to, if he's going to do that fight, they need to, get working on that shit. But I'd like to see it.
That's the thing. When it comes to Crawford versus Ennis, there seems to be a Canelo Benavides dynamic where I don't think Crawford is scared of Ennis, but his team are reluctant or just downright refuse to call him out directly. Because and I understand why, because a lot of it's posturing. Just like with Canelo Benavides, Canelo doesn't want to say, "Hey, I want Benavides," because if he says that, he's giving the impression that Benavides can ask for whatever he wants in negotiations, which apparently he already did from what I understand. Hey, TV rights, what the fuck? So I understand that aspect of it. But Jimmy, do you think? Do you think it ever happens? Crawford versus Ennis? Would you be confident that happening, or do you think it's one of those fights that are cursed, if you will?
I believe it was Crawford did call him out, didn't he? Wasn't it like 2 years ago? Well, I know. Boy, put it this way: we also got to establish what was happening with Boots. Mm-hmm. Remember, at the time, the rumor is that he supposedly said to Al that he wanted to fight Crawford next, or how come Crawford never calls my name out? So these things were being said. I don't know if it was from him tweeting. I can't remember that. But here's the thing: Crawford was the WBO champion at welterweight. Everything Ennis did was under the IBF. He was fighting in their eliminators. He was fighting for this. He was paying their sanctioning fees. He wasn't a WBO fighter. So you're calling out the WBO champion. Well, everything you do and all your moves is to go after Spence because he had the IBF belt. So it didn't make sense. If you were going after Crawford, you wanted him, you pay the WBO. You got me ranked, bang, here's my sanctioning fee. Or I want a mandate fight. You make the moves to make that fight happen. Mm-hmm. So his voice or people in charge of his Twitter account are saying one thing, but his moves weren't saying that. And his father messed up, kind of ratted on himself when he told on himself because he turned around and said that they weren't going to, they didn't make the fight, whatever. I can't remember off the top of my head, but the old man did snitch himself out.
It was an interview, I think, Jimmy, where he said that
he was said that loyal to Showtime,
their fight was kind of offered. The fight was offered, and they said we weren't going to do that to Showtime or something like that.
Yes, that's right. We're loyal to Showtime. Yep, yeah. We're loyal to Showtime. Because, yes, that's right. Because I believe when he was with Bob, they reached out and he said, no, we're loyal to Showtime.
Interesting, man. That's very interesting. That like you said, we have to establish what actually happened there. And Ennis did have his shot at Crawford, and for whatever reason, they didn't want it. He didn't want it. So hopefully now that the zone has opened its doors and welcomed Ennis with open arms, maybe we will see what happens. Maybe there's hope yet. So that's what Jimmy was getting to, with the fact that, hey, maybe the more PBC fighters jump ship, maybe now we'll finally start. And that's actually a question that I asked last year. It's like, hey, would boxing actually benefit from all these guys finally going with some competent promoters and actually get some fights under their belts? Fellas, don't forget to hit the like. It really helps us out. We'll be opening up the phone line soon. And, okay, anyone else got anything else to say about the Jaron Ennis situation?
No, that's about it. Again, I'm just pumped. I'm pumped for him. I think we're going to see it was wasted potential over there.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah, one of the few Afro Anglos that's actually one of the few Afro Anglos is actually exciting. Although, again, I must say, I'm skeptical about how good he can really be. There's no denying. It's undeniable that with his mix of speed and power, and especially he's big. I mean, Thunderdome always used to say, this dude looks like a super middleweight in there. Surprising that he can make the weight. But because of those attributes, very dangerous. But I still remember when he fought the undersized Sergei Lipinets, and Lipinets sort of froze him for about 2 seconds with an overhand right. And that's Lipinets who knows how to set up his shots. Roman Villa, on the other hand, bigger than Lipinets and a bigger puncher, but you could see those punches coming. So you saw what happened. Right. Yeah, you saw what happened with Ennis when he fought a guy with a good footwork in Karen, the Karen, and he made Ennis looked foolish in there at times, swinging, flailing it with the wind, spinning around like a ballerina. Not good. So I suspect Jimmy and
it's
so
like he didn't even train for that guy.
Well, I suspect, like I was gonna say, guys that had something to do too with inactivity. I mean, how are you really gonna improve if you're not fighting, right?
Was there any tape on that dude, Karen? It's like to me, he seemed like he was completely surprised by how that guy fought. It was like he didn't train at all for that style of a fight. It was crazy.
Yeah, man. But again,
it was just the overconfidence.
Yeah, I think so too. I think that might have been a part of it too. I have to rewatch. I remember reading up a lot about that fight in the build-up to it, and I think Ennis did make some comments. I'd have to, again, my memory's sketchy on that, but I'm gonna go back and look and see what Ennis was saying in the build-up to the fight. He might have been overconfident.
This is what he was saying, BDA. He was saying we're going to be in and out like a robbery, and then he said knockout incoming in 3.
Come on.
That's what he said.
A drive-by? Is that what you? That's a new thing Silvers came up with. But yeah, but that's my take on Ennis. And again, the only way to find out how good a guy is by getting him fights. I mean, you really, it's difficult to gauge how good a guy is if he's fighting once every year. And some of those fights, lasted less than 2 rounds. So we'll see what happens there. Speaking of finding
not only
out,
don't they get better though, be honest, once a year they deteriorate. I don't care what anybody says, you're not going to get better, you're going to deteriorate your skill set. We've seen it with everybody, even Davis. One thing, Davis was better when he fought Pedraza than he does now, and than he is now, without a doubt.
Yeah, man, that's another dude that's I mean, I don't know. Listen, I hate to cast aspersions or, with minimal evidence, but there's something weird going on with the PBC, the hold that they have on Tank Davis. We've seen it with Wilder. We've seen it with Adrian Broner. They have a lot of PDD-like tendencies, if you know what I mean. And I suspect that's part of the psychological component which allows them to hold and sway a guy like Tank Davis, who, by the way, also, I don't know if you guys saw, somebody posted on Twitter, Tank Davis he posted a picture of him with his new attire, and he looked a little bit like Liberace. And again, that's a guy that looked like Liberace as well in the Garcia press conferences. So I don't know what's going on in there. Yeah, I don't know what's going on. I don't really want to know. But yeah, there's something weird going on there. All right. The other thing is, about that. Okay, yeah. So this Saturday, we've got some fights. We got Jaron Anderson, that's Big Baby Anderson, taking on Riad Merhy, and we got Efe Ajagba taking on Guido Vianello. What a name, by the way, for an Italian, Guido. Now, here's the thing. Some of you might be thinking, who the fuck are these guys? Oh, you're in for a treat for this one, at least in the main event, because Riad Merhy is not just, he's not coming here to lay down. He's a 31-year-old guy. He's short for the division, 5'11 and a half, but he's strong as a bull. He's got 26 knockouts out of 32 wins. He already pulled off an upset against Tony Yoka, who was a French gold medalist, I believe. I think gold medalist. So this is a fight. This is a guy that's coming to fight. He likes to go to the body. We know Jaron Anderson doesn't like to run. He likes to go. He's one of the few heavyweights that goes to the body as well. But the big question with Jaron Anderson is, mentally, is he there? That seems to be the story and the question with a lot of these American fighters nowadays, like Ryan Garcia and Teofimo Lopez, and now Jaron Anderson. Are they there mentally? Jimmy, coming into the fight, Jaron Anderson, he's being matched carefully, as Top Rank tends to do, but not softly either. What do you think Jaron Anderson is going to show this Saturday, and do you think he walks away the winner?
Because of the size, because of the other guy's so much shorter. Mm-hmm. But the thing is, man, he's shown when he doesn't like getting hit. I mean, let's be honest, man. The dude went life and death with Charles Martin. Remember that? And then he comes out with those fucking statements that I'm not in it for the long time. You know what I mean? The short, like you want to be retired by 25. Like, listen, dude, you're telling me you're 21 now. You want to be retired at 25. Well, I'm not going to get behind you. I'm not going to be excited for this guy's fights. His heart's not even in it. And then I see how he reacted on Twitter and talked to fans and just everyday people. The way he went at him, like he's clearly a fucking whack job. I'm sorry, I was big baby fan. I'm like, good, a fucking American fighter, heavyweight that comes forward and who's not looking to, he's looking to fight. I was excited about it. And then everything else started happening. No impulse control, flying from the police. You know what I mean? Full on police chases and shit. And then he gets out and he's blaming fucking everything, takes no accountability. Yeah, dude, I got no patience for that bullshit, dude. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, he's fighting. Am I excited about it? No, I'm just not. I'm off that train. So I'm looking forward to see what Jeffy. I'm hoping to see him getting a little less robotic. That's since day one. If he could ever smoothen his moves out, that guy's dangerous because he punches like a mule. He's so robotic. A lot of punches you see coming. But he looked better. He absolutely looked better his last fight. So I'm curious to see if they're still making moves. Because if he comes around and starts coming reactive and smooth, that could be a dangerous man for anybody.
Yeah, that's a good point. Now, but Jimmy, what do you say to people? And we've actually addressed this before, but just if you could reiterate, because you said Jaron Anderson doesn't like to get hit. Some people say, well, nobody likes to get hit. Could you please address that statement about how some fighters really don't like to get hit?
Well, yeah, it means their body. I'm not saying so much himself personally, but his body doesn't react to getting punched well. We've seen that in his fights against Martin. I mean, he was hit, and he was just not digging it at all. You know what I mean? He was like, whoa. He wasn't like biting down on his gum shield and saying, okay, let's do it. You know what I mean? He was looking to cover. I mean, he was rocked. And, he didn't come back at somebody who's like, fucking whatever. I mean, remember when Virgil Ortiz got that big fucking shot he took by Igas, that Croatian kid or whatever his nationality is, and he fucking just bit on his gum shield and started winging with them? That was his first reaction. Even though he was rocked, I guarantee you he saw his fucking stars. But his fucking shit safety, it was fuck you, let's go. You know what I mean? I like that in a fighter. When you see him hurt, well, how does he react to being hurt? Is his first fucking action to how far is the fucking end of the round? They're looking up at the fucking clock and they're just trying to get the fuck away, diving at the dude's waist. The shit that pisses everybody off. Or does he fucking say, okay, and step into it? You know, not recklessly, but you know what I'm saying? Their first reaction isn't to fucking find safety. It's to fight. That wasn't what I saw from Jaron Ennis that night. So that's why I say he doesn't like to get hit.
Yeah, very well explained. And if I may just add a couple of layers to that, I've talked to professional fighters, and I've heard professional fighters in interviews as well say, you know, I kind of like getting hit. I mean, Jimmy's got that anecdote from Mickey Ward where Mickey Ward did say, I kind of like it, the sparring, you know, the feeling, the pain afterwards and feeling sore. And it's not I mean, I don't want to get into that too much because I can't really explain it properly, but it's not that they like it like the same way you like an ice cream sundae. But it's like with people who gamble. They enjoy gambling because there's a risk of losing and there's the potential of winning. You know, it's the risk of it. That's what they enjoy. They enjoy, and the same boxers. It's a little bit the same thing. It's the contact. It's the danger. It's the fire involved in there. I'll give you an example too. Diego Corrales, although it's an extreme example, he had a tattoo on his chest that said something along the lines of "Pain is love," or something like that. Again, the guys that get into the professional game and who make it to the top. As champions, contenders, whatever, they're abnormal. There's a little bit of a masochistic edge to them. And so, yeah, some of them like to get hit. Others, like Jimmy said, not so much. Not so much. By the way, fellas, don't forget to hit the like. Hit the like, hit the like, hit the like, hit the like. It really helps us out. Bucho reestablished his membership program. I don't know why he needs to do that. He's the fucking co-founder of the BD channel, but whatever. Shout out to Bucho for doing that. And like I said, don't forget to hit the like, hit the like, hit the like. Where are we at with the likes anyway? We're at 53 likes. That is unacceptable, fellas. Let's get it up to 80 at least. 80. So if 27 more people hit the like, we're golden. Somebody was going to say something? BDA,
remember like with Charles Martin? Yeah, no, I was going to say remember when Joshua was younger and when he fought Charles Martin? Mm-hmm. It was like, you know what I mean? He just went out there, just obliterated him in 2 rounds. That's what young, hungry, punching heavyweights do. Jared's is a bit on the fucking smaller side, so I'll cut him some slack for his punching power. He's not, you know, he's not a super big heavyweight, but at the same token, I mean, he struggled with fucking a guy that elite heavyweights obliterate.
I mean, Luis Ortiz, he did go life and death with Martin, but he took him out. Jared Anderson couldn't. And may I also say that Jared Anderson, okay, yeah, he's 6 feet 4.5, I believe. So he's a little bit taller than Usyk, but he's certainly bigger in terms of the weight than Usyk. So he's not a baby, no pun intended. I believe because of his hand speed, he's going to compete with some of these heavyweights, but technically, he seemed lost against Martin. And but you know what? Though? You tell me what you guys think. We saw what happened with Teofimo Lopez once against Kambosos. He was acting abrasively. He seemed to lack focus, and sure enough, he did lose that fight. Same thing going to the Josh Taylor fight, except this time he pulled it off. So sometimes it's difficult to gauge how a guy's mentality and expressions leading up to a fight are actually going to translate into said fight. So are we making too much of Jared Anderson's histrionics outside the ring, or Jimmy? I think you already touched on that a little bit, but what do you think? Is it too premature right now to go off of his outside the ring behavior?
Well, you can only gauge people by what they offer you, and and again, like, I'm just from a different maybe mindset or era, but like, just choices he made. Well, you didn't get arrested with a gun too, and it's look at. His brother, I mean, I'm not going to hide it. I mean, he went after people on Twitter over this, which was amazing. It's like, dude, you understand you're on the wrong side of this right now? You can love your brother. He's your brother. You're going to love him for the rest of your life. That will never change because he's your brother, his blood, right? I get that. But you don't celebrate. You don't pay homage to him. Like when I ever found out, like at first when it was like that, I'm like, what do you get caught up in the system? Fucking bunch of, small drug busts and end up getting sent away, dealing just like, cause he had like lack of options. I'm going to be sympathetic to that because being from a kid who didn't come from anything and came from a city, I saw people fall into that. It doesn't take much to do it, especially if there's early success in it. But no, man, his brother fucking broke into a dude's house and murdered him. And you fucking, this is for my brother. Like, dude, you don't talk about that fucking guy. He's your family, man, but he's an embarrassment. That's not somebody you fucking like. So when I ever found out, I was like, wow. It just made me question that kid's mindset. Like, you don't see like, what's the fucking? Shouldn't you be saying like, I don't know. How about the guy who had, he murdered? And I think it was in front of his family, if I'm not mistaken. It was horrendous. There was 3 of them involved because they wanted his shit. So they wouldn't give it up. You know what I mean? Just horrendous. Like that's the lowest form of society. Like, so bad. Just the fact that he pulled that shit with the prison outfit, and then you come to find out because it made me want to see him. Like, I wonder what his brother was down for. And you see that, you're like, what the fuck? Where's your mind? Then you see him running from cops and running his mouth about it and then attacking people because somebody did say on Twitter, how about paying homage to the guy your brother murdered? And dude, the shit he said to this fucking dude, he went into his Instagram page, took pictures of him, like, because the kid ended up losing a lot of weight. Sanch, only Sanch, he's always on Ring IQ, right? Guy in his 40 lost like half his weight. Looks good. Lost 200 pounds. Good on him. And he was just fucking, you fat, blah, blah, blah. You fucking live at home with your mama, you poor, broke, nobody. And it's like, you're a niche sport, bro, right? You're lucky to have fans, dude, at this point with where the sport's at. And here's a kid who jumped on a plane and flew to Japan to see the fucking Inoue fight against Fulton. I mean, you're not going to get a more fucking hardcore boxing fan. And this dude spent 2 days going at him. All because he said something I think most people were thinking, and it shows this kid's mentality. He's immature, and the shit he says. So again, this all ties into, I'm just not going to waste my fucking time on that kind of shit because you're not the type of person I don't like where your head's at. I don't like your lack of respect for the sport. I don't like the shit you said. And then I don't like the way you looked against Charles Martin. It's just like, I'm not getting invested with this kid because I don't think he's in it for the long run. I think he fights that way. So
yeah, I mean, there's a guy in the chat. There's a guy in the chat that says, mind your business, stay out of people's business, just worry about the boxing part. I agree, man. I agree. Don't burst into people's houses and murder them. I mean, I think that he's absolutely correct, man. Just stick to boxing. I don't understand why people have to go around breaking into people's houses.
And did I bring it in? And Mr. BD, I would imagine, wasn't it that dude? Wasn't it fucking him bringing it in when he fucking came in a prison suit and chains, pulling the fucking victim bullshit and saying this is to my brother? by doing that, staging that, he was making it seem like his brother was almost not illegally incarcerated, but like just being held down, right? And then you find out what he did. The kid's a monster. So I'm going to say, yeah, fuck that, dude. And I'm going to question what do you think this is all about? What do you think the whole sport's about, especially fighting? You're going to tell me, I guarantee that dude who said that has talked about what fighters do on the outside of the ring. It's all aspect. If the guy's falling down drunk all the time, that has nothing to do with it. Just stick to the boxing. It tells you about a guy's mindset, where he is mentally. Is he is he a good character? Is he strong mentally? And someone who's going to argue with a dude, a simple guy and a hardcore boxing fan on Twitter, going at him sideways the way this dude did, like I'm talking maniac tweets.
Mm-hmm. By the way, like King Butcher,
fuck that. I'm not
like
that's my business.
All right, the
If we're
language.
keeping it boxing, if we keep, oh my bad.
I'm just saying,
If
Jimmy.
we want to keep it boxing with Jared Anderson, oh my bad. Go ahead, BD.
I'm just saying, Jim. Excuse me. Sorry, Mike. We got a delay, but Jimmy's making good points. But the language, though, I don't understand why he has to go down that route. I mean, we're talking about upholding morals and all that, and he's got quite the potty mouth today. But go ahead, Sobers. Yeah.
I say if we're gonna keep it just straight boxing with Jared Anderson, you know, he said he wants to be out by the time he's 27, and he just had a bad performance against his first former world champion, and then they gave him a good bounce back. They let him bounce back, but you know the writing's on the wall. If you're looking at just from a boxing perspective, Jaron Ennis is 27 now, right? And that guy really hasn't taken off. So where do you think this kid's gonna be at? And he said he wants to be in and out by then. No, I'm not gonna waste my time watching him like that. Sorry.
Yeah, you're. I mean, yeah, that's one way of looking at it too. I'll watch because I like how I like he's one of the few heavyweights that actually goes to the body. By the way, King Butcher says his brother is a political prisoner from Cuba. Yeah, I'm a political prisoner from Cuba, and I want my rights right now. Also, May I say this rather? Breaking into people's houses in the United States, where people have the right to bear arms, and even they have that stand your ground or castle doctrine, whatever it's called. Highly dangerous endeavor. And also, you never know who you're robbing. Let me tell you, back in the 1980s, early 80s, I had a friend of a friend of a friend who knew some people who were up to no good. They decided to break into a guy's house. The guy's house, who was the guy who owned the house? A little man by the name of Eddie Nash. You might remember the Wonderland murders. The robbers ended up getting beaten to a pulp with pipes. And nobody was ever arrested for it. But people knew who he was. It was Eddie Nash, the Nash, getting retribution. So all I'm saying is you don't want to break into people's houses, man. You go to jail or you get killed doing that type of stuff. And then on top of that, you're robbing people. That's how you make your living. You're living robbing others, not helping others. I mean, come on, this is ridiculous. What else was I gonna say? Oh yeah, okay. So on the undercard, we have Efe Ajagba taking on the aforementioned what's his last name? Hold on, Guido Vianello. What a name for an Italian, like I said. I mean, that's like a Mexican name, Taco Jones or something. I mean, you can make that up. But it's an interesting fight because Guido is a tough heavyweight. He does have some skills. I just didn't like how he looked against, what was his name? Johnny Rice? I forget his first name, but Rice, who's a decent heavyweight, good gatekeeper. He rolls very well with the right hands, counters very well. He already upset another heavyweight when he was at the PBC by the name of Coffee, I believe. They were trying to build him up a little bit. He beat him twice, if I remember correctly. Then in one of his last fights, he beat Vianello. So he can, Vianello is really not that great, and he looks like he might get overwhelmed by Ajagba's power. But here's my question. By putting Ajagba in there on the same card as Anderson, are they trying to build up a fight between Anderson and Ajagba, provided that they win? Or is that too much too soon for Anderson? What do you fellas think?
Yeah, I would think I wouldn't think they'd want to match him against Abja just yet, only because I don't know, Bob probably would just say, why am I going to hang on to loose ends, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
He clearly likes, because he talks to trainers and promoters and see where their head's at. And again, and I just want to address that other thing too. Like, I just want to say, Abdullah Mason, he's a kid who signs with Bob. He's the kid I'm the most, by far, psyched on, is the young, his young fighters. And what do I say all the time? One of the things that when you find out about him, Steve Kim wrote about it, a completely centered well fucking mannered, right? Very focused. You know what I mean? Respectful kid. And that usually tends to be like, you can be even wild in the street, be crazy, but when you talk to people, you sit down, you're respectful, you know what I mean? Just like, and that like shows character. And I think that's the word Steve used too. He's a young man of character. And I think he said the same thing about Boots Ennis. Like Boots doesn't go out party, doesn't do stupid shit. You don't see him doing knucklehead things. So that tells you that, you know, they got their head on and they're living like a professional athlete and just doing things like that. So of course it matters. And when people are like Vegas, when they're fucking doing the odds, these odds makers, what do you think they're looking at? All that shit matters. And if you're really serious about boxing, every facet of that person's life, when they're going through divorce, we've seen that affect fighters, you know, baby mama drama. All that shit affects fighters because it's a human-based sport.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they're not robots. So that's why it's all important. So that's, you know what I mean? Like, I think that dude was offended for all the wrong reasons.
Now, let me ask you this.
But
Top Rank has, in the past, let fighters go. Gilberto Ramirez, Andy Luis. Would you be surprised if that same thing happens with Anderson?
No, I wouldn't. I'm at this point with Bob. No, nothing would surprise me. I don't care who it is. If he asks you to fight certain fighters and you turn them down, I don't think for his personality or even I wouldn't be surprised if there wouldn't be too many more of those fucking getting chased by the police bullshit before Bob would say, "Listen, dude, what are you doing? Why am I going to invest into someone who's got, you know, you're going to fucking be incarcerated? How am I going to make my money back? Because at the end of the day, you know, that's all these guys are. I mean, he's a promoter. That's what he's in it for. He's not in there to become friends with young guys. And you're investing into somebody, you know, like I'm sure Jaron Ennis isn't working at fucking the local Home Depot. He's paid to be a professional fighter, you know? And if you're being a fucking knucklehead, you run the risk of going to prison. And what the fuck is Bob going to do then? So yeah, if he keeps on getting into stupid shit, yeah, I wouldn't be surprised at all if Bob, when it's time, because they sign fight contracts, X amount of fights. At the end of his last fight deal, Bob says, "See you later. You're too much of a risk."
You know what though? I think I'm going to defend Jared Anderson here a little bit. I think he was misguided, and I think he lacked the wherewithal to know what he was doing. I think his heart was in the right place. I think he was trying to market himself, getting into a high-speed chase with the cops. Because, I mean, look at OJ in the 90s. It got him a high profile by doing that. Same thing back, we used to have world's wildest police chases on Fox, if you might recall. But I think that's where he got it wrong. It ain't the 90s anymore. You don't need to go around getting into high-speed chases with the cops to get a higher profile. So I think that's where that was one of his misgivings. But hopefully he gets his act together because, I mean, not for nothing, but an American... the more nations involved in boxing, it makes it more international, kind of like a Pride FC type thing. And right now, there's Americans are lacking in the heavyweight division. So it would be fun to have a good American fighter making some waves in that division. By the way, fellas, the phone lines are open. Phone lines are open, so make sure to call in. Give us your thoughts on everything we're talking about. I'm going to be putting up the number. Hold on a second. Right here in the left-hand middle portion of your screen. I will also be putting it up in the big screen, marquee, primetime, right up here. Hold on a second, that's not it. Right there, there you go, look at that. So make sure to call in, give us your thoughts on everything we've been talking about and whatever else you want to talk about. And make sure to hit that like, by the way. I'm looking at the likes here. I said get us up to 80. We're at 75. Come on, 5 more people. Hit that like, hit that like, hit that like, and we get up to 80. That would be fantastic. That would be fantastic. All right. Here's another thing I wanted to bring up, though. This is about, I'm going to put it up on the screen here because, again, it's indicative of, like I was saying, American boxing and how some things might be going awry just a little bit. Hold on a second. Where is it? Yeah, it's one of the big news in boxing, too, of something that's going to be taking place in about, what is it? A week. Not this Saturday, the next. Hold on. Shit, sorry about that. Oh, yeah, by the way, the phone lines are open. All right, here it is. Ryan Garcia held a open workout yesterday. And now, of course, there's been rumors that his fight with Devin Haney just ain't selling all that well over there in Brooklyn. And he had this to say. He said, I wouldn't even pay for that. He's actually criticizing the tickets prices for his own fight. Here's what he had to say. He says, nobody wants to watch a guy that supposedly can't crack an egg, referring to Devin Haney. We're not going to underestimate him. He may have power when I step in there. I don't know. But I think I was being a big advocate of lowering the prices. I think personally the prices were very high, and I want everybody to be in the building. I don't think a lot of Americans can afford $500, $300 tickets for the top row. I wouldn't even pay that, and I have enough money to do it. But I'm not going to pay 500 buckaroos to be at the top row. That's crazy, he had to say. All right, now this is highly unusual. To see a fight, I mean, everything about this, the build-up to this fight has been unusual. From Garcia talking about being abused at the Bohemian Grove, to talking about how he can bail out the Tates over there in Romania in the high courts, to now him saying, these prices are outrageous. And then on top of that, you would have thought a year ago that this fight would be selling. It ain't selling. Now, if it ain't selling at the gate, you think it's going to sell at the box office, pay-per-view-wise? Jimmy, what's going on here? Do you think Ryan Garcia has a point when it comes to the prices? Is that one of the reasons why the fight ain't selling?
Oh yeah, no, we've been talking about it. The price is ridiculous. Excuse me. Yeah, ridiculous. But here's the thing, Ryan. What did you demand for? What was your pay? You know, a lot of the things that dictate the price of the tickets about what you're asking for a guarantee. But I don't know. I can't see that kid asking for that much for a guarantee that they would have to jack the prices up like that. I don't know, man. Good on him for saying it. I'm sure fucking DAZN and whoever's putting it on is so pissed with him right now. My God, this kid is such a loose cannon. It is some funny shit. I'm sure. But yeah, I agree with them.
So, he's selling a lot of truth.
No, absolutely. Yeah, recognize.
Oh, we got Recognize jumping in. He's been MIA for the last couple of episodes. What's going on, Recognize?
Yeah, I thought I just heard his voice.
Finally let you out of rehab.
I've been running the streets of New York. What do you want from me?
The king of New York. All right. But sorry, what were you going to say there, Recognize?
No, I'm saying he's telling a lot of truth, bro. Like he's I agree with what Jimmy's saying. There could be a contradiction there. It could be like, okay, bro, you're complaining that they're not doing good because they're selling at a high price. What's your demand, right? But if the demand that he's asking for, or at least the guarantee, is a reasonable price, and he's still jacking up the price, the tickets the way they are, then he's got a really good point. You know?
Yeah, he would, right?
I think.
Yeah,
I would say that's probably the first time that Ryan Garcia even looked at the ticket prices. I bet, bro.
Well, I don't know about
that. Good point.
I was listening to what was it, the last one? I think it was the last 3 knockdown rule, and Steve Kim was dropping more stories about the Garcias. He was saying that his mother, Mama Garcia, was really, going around in the arena, I believe, in one of his fights, talking about ticket prices and blah, blah, blah. That's something that happens quite often. Some fighters, they get a couple of tickets from the promoters that they can distribute to their family, friends, whatever, blah, blah, blah. The Garcias seem to make a big deal out of those type of little details. So, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised to see them focusing on ticket prices before. But the point remains, this fight was supposed to be a big one, and it's not. I think DAZN's got a dot on their hands.
Devin Haney is not as big as they would like him to be, or not yet at least. I don't think he ever will be. And Ryan Garcia, like, he's got popularity, but he's not like a game changer. You know what I'm saying? He's not there, or at least he's not there yet. And if he loses this fight, he might never get there either. You know what I'm saying? So I think there's more potential on Ryan Garcia, but right now it's not manifesting itself. That's for sure.
Well, that's the interesting thing.
The way how I see it.
Go ahead.
I'll say with the Devin Haney, everyone got Devin Haney basically winning for the most part. So I don't think people are that interested in tuning in, because Ryan Garcia, he has a lot of potential, but the only way that this event will be a really big deal is if Ryan would win by knockout. You know what I mean? If Devin Haney outboxes him, everyone's like, well, yeah, that's what we kind of expected. So, and they might have caught lightning in a bottle with Ryan and Davis because, you know, they weren't expecting the turnout that they got. And now they're expecting a bigger turnout and they might get less than what they expected. You know what I mean? It's like they're kind of counting their chickens before they hatch because they got such a good turnout with Davis and Ryan. But it's not the same situation. This dude isn't he's not undefeated. He's already been knocked out. So I don't think people are expecting as much from Ryan.
I agree. I didn't like your old-timey expression. I didn't like your old-timey expression there, you know, counting chickens before they I mean, come on. What's next? You know, don't play with fire if you don't want to get burned.
A herd dog will holler, BDA.
Hey, that's
that
a good
dog
one.
don't hunt.
No, but you're right though. Yeah, I'm been keeping my eye on what people say in message boards and Twitter comments in YouTube videos. A lot of people feel like Sober said that this is a mismatch, and I tend to agree. If this would have happened a year ago, prior to the Tank Davis fight, when I thought Ryan Garcia had his shit together, I would have said, yeah, I think it's going to be a big fight. But subsequently, too many things have happened that have now painted this fight going in as a mismatch for Haney. By the way, the phone lines are open, fellas. Phone lines are open. Call in. Give us your thoughts on the fights. By the way, we got a phone call here. Somebody's been waiting. Let's go to the phone call, and then we'll go back to the panel here. 917, you're on the air. 917, what's on your mind?
They say Devin Haney couldn't crack an egg. He couldn't crack his sister on a Saturday night after a couple drinks.
No, come on. Come on, what's the matter with you?
Oh.
What do you mean, what's the matter with me? Your sister's the matter with me.
Oh.
She's still good.
Whoa.
Hey, yo, listen, you come in here with the bad language, you show the place no respect. What's the matter with you?
Yeah.
I didn't say no bad language. I gave your sister a compliment.
Well, I don't even have a sister, first of all. But yeah, so you were saying Haney can't crack an egg. He can't even crack a sister. But I mean, come on. Are you even going to buy this fight, caller?
Girl, you know.
Oh, come on. Are you going to buy this fight, caller?
I ain't gonna buy the fight. I'm gonna stream it on Craig Streams.
Ah, come on. You can't admit that on the air, man. The FBI is going to track you down and lock you up for 25 years.
We'll tell him to break the door down, something Devin Haney couldn't do.
Oh!
Now with those pillow fists.
Hey, the caller's on fire today. Hey, is this? Okay, no, that's not him. It sounded a little bit like the Greek guy that used to call in, but now it sounds like an Italian guy. But we'll just go with it. Caller,
I like this guy.
I like him too.
Fire caller.
Caller, do you think Haney has a potential to win over the Afro-Anglo community? They seem to be swayed more by Tank Davis. What do you think Haney has to do or can do to get his profile up in the streets, as I like to say?
He needs to punch an Anglo-Saxon in the face.
What?
Then maybe he'll win the race.
That makes no sense, man. But I'm laughing either way. All right, caller, what else, man? What else you got to say? Come on. This is your time, man.
All I gotta say is, Tank Davis beat the shit out of that boy.
Oh, that boy. All right. Well, listen, a lot of people want to see that fight, but again, Garcia has to get past, Haney has to get past Garcia first, and we don't even know if that's, we all expect that to happen. All right, so you're not buying the pay-per-view. You don't think Haney can crack an egg. What else? Who do you have winning, though? Well, I think he hung up. I think the FBI got to him. All right. Well,
yeah,
listen, don't forget to hit the like. It really helps out.
Called in.
Who?
Archie Bunker.
Archie Bunker. All right, now
he went after your sister. The first thing he did, he went after your sister.
That's right, my non-existent sister. Now, Recognize,
that's what you do with all your friends. You always hit on their sisters.
Oh, we got the Chiefurino jumping in. But Recognize, I wanted to ask you, man, real quick. Same question I asked to the caller. Devin Haney has some fans on Twitter, but it seems like the more street-savvy fans, let's just put it that way, in the Afro-Anglo community are more swayed towards Tank Davis. Why do you think that is? And can Haney do something to get those fans on his side?
Well, it's a it's a hierarchy when it comes to the you know, like every fan base. Right? So he's gonna attract more or less the same fans, but they would prefer Tank Davis, and you could see why culturally they would go with him, because he's the more at least when it comes to this fan base, they identify more with a guy like Tank. And look, I'm not taking sides here, but Tank is the more exciting fighter, although I don't think that's the reason why they're going with him, because I think if you just reverse the behavior, let's say Tank or you reverse the style of fighting. Let's say Haney was the more knockout artist, same demeanor, right? And Tank was the more savvy fighter, kind of like a slick fighter, same behavior. They'll still go with Tank.
Why do you think that is?
Because of the way he acts, with the things that he say, talking about, the tattoos, the troubles, and all that shit. They kind of identify.
It's the out of the
ghetto
ring.
fabulous.
It's the out of the ring persona more than it is the in the ring persona, is what you're saying.
Right. I truly believe that. I truly believe
No, I was just trying to clarify what you were saying.
Chief,
I don't think Chief is.
I like how Chief is pushing recognize. Yeah, I like how Chief is pushing recognize to be more direct. But I mean, let's just put it this way: he keeps it real. That's what the Tank Davis does. He keeps it real with the community. But I'll say this, man. That's something that's a fight that could be big down the line, as I like to say. But unfortunately, I don't expect it to happen. I don't expect what's his name, Shakur Stevenson and Davis and all these other dudes to fight anytime soon. I just don't see it.
Nope. I don't either. I don't think they want to have anything to do with each other. I think they're perfectly happy getting their above average salaries against nondescript I would say non-hopers. I can't say that with Haney directly, because even though I think Regis Prograis was just the right pick and at just the right time, was kind of an overrated fighter. At the same time, he's a two-time champion. He's more accomplished and more of I won't say a name, but more of a threat on paper than anything any of the other guys are fighting right now. He did take on Lomachenko, even though we all think he lost. He didn't want to have anything to do with the rematch, but neither is anybody else for that matter when it comes time for, Lomachenko. And he did go to Australia twice, even though Kambosos wasn't a threat. He went out of his comfort zone twice to go down there to fight him. This is not me building Haney. I'm not a huge fan of his. But when you're comparing him to the others, he's done more. Shakur's done very little. He's fought very few quality opponents, aside from, on paper, Valdez, and I guess you could say Herring, but Herring was well past his prime. And then Tank's biggest win, aside from Pedraza, has been, the Pitbull is kind of shining a little brighter now that he's got a title. So there's that. But then after that was Ryan. And if Ryan loses easily to Haney, then how good is that win going to age? Not so well. If he loses two big fights in a row, then we know that he's the gatekeeper. And so Tank, the result will be Tank knocked out a gatekeeper. That's what it would be. So at the moment, Haney's got the most glossy record, but I don't think they really want to fight each other or anything that's going to threaten their O or their pockets, or they're not challenging themselves. They think that they already think they're great. Ray Leonard and Tommy Hearns, everybody wanted to prove they were great back in our day. These guys think they're already great, therefore they don't have anything to prove. So they don't try to prove it.
Right. Now you're right, man. I mean, that's one of the big problems there, but we shall see what happens, man. Hopefully they fight, because I mean, that's really the only way. Like I keep saying, one of the ways you become a mainstream boxer is by fighting the best. No ifs and buts around. Show me a guy who's never fought the best and who's already mainstream. Maybe Ryan Garcia, but then again, he's a product of the internet, the new generation. When he became famous beforehand. Right. But other than that, very difficult. Very difficult. Speaking of that, the other thing, by the way, let me just check if the phone lines are open, people. Phone lines are open, so make sure to call in. Let's go to a phone call here. Let's go to 210. 210, you're in the air. 210, what's on your mind?
I want to play a game.
Well, go ahead.
No, hey, this is Southpaw. Hey, what's up?
What's up? You want to play a game? Like, what is this?
No,
what was
can I humor y'all? Can I humor y'all for a minute? I got a little list of fighters, man, and just give me a response. Either wasted talent, crazy, stupid, just whatever, something like that comes to mind. Mind if I do it?
Absolutely. Go ahead. Yeah.
Okay, Broner.
Well, somebody, but excuse me, sorry. Somebody has to answer. Yeah, you answer them for it. Okay, yeah. Yeah, there you go, man.
Gay and wasted talent.
Okay, Broner.
Yeah, gay and wasted talent.
We just said gay.
I can only hear you, BDA.
Nah. Hold on a second. Oh, okay. Wait. All right, sorry about that. Yeah, now something happened with the line. Now they can. Now I think you should be able to hear. Guys, give him the answer again, please.
We said gay and
wasted. Okay, Broner.
Yeah, they said gay and a wasted talent. All right, Chris Colbert, guys, Chris Colbert.
Overrated.
Wilder.
Fraud.
Spence.
Overrated.
Overrated.
Alcoholic.
Okay.
Potential alcoholic. Sorry, excuse me. Potential alcoholic. Alleged alcoholic. Tank Davis, guys.
Tank Davis.
Wasted
Hype
talent.
with potential. I'll say hype with potential.
Okay, Rolly Romero.
Todd.
Come on.
W-E-E. Todd.
Come on, what's going on here?
Oh.
I don't like where this game is. No, sorry. I don't like where this game is going, man. It's bringing out the worst out of people.
Okay, Ryan Garcia.
Ryan Garcia.
Disappointment.
Sauna room at the local YMCA.
Okay, Shakur Stevenson.
Disappointment.
Gerald Anderson. Jared Anderson.
Disappointment.
Oh, come on.
So far.
Big Baby.
Well, look,
Big
he's got all these
Baby
legal
Miller.
troubles. He can't stay straight. You know what I mean?
All right, Southpaw, how many more names you got?
Big Baby Miller.
How many more names you got there?
Man, I got a lot because it's pretty much showing what's wrong with American boxing, and a lot of these are PBC fighters. But you know what? Okay, I'm not going to want a response. Just let me list my list, okay?
Okay.
Just my list. Broner, Colbert, Wilder, Spence, Tank, Rowley, Ryan, Shakur, Gerald Miller, Teofimo Lopez, Thurman, the other Garcia, the Puerto Rican Garcia, welterweight, Gary Russell, Leo Santa Cruz, Gerald Big Baby Miller, Charlo, the other Charlo, Boo Boo, Benavides, Andy Ruiz. Now, all those fighters, only three of them are not PBC. Ryan's with the, Golden Boy, and then Shakur and Anderson are with the Top Rank. This is a lot of these guys with PBC. They're all fucking crazy, and this is what's wrong with American boxing, right? So this is why the foreigners are really the ones to really root for and look out for. But I'm happy Boots isn't on this list yet, and he's finally seen the writing on the wall. Maybe it took him seeing Tim getting screwed to really see, like, okay, you know what, these guys don't have my best interest, and so I hope he gets that fight, man. He couldn't go with Top Rank because Top Rank has that beef with lingering with Bud Crawford. So we'll see, man. And there's rumors that there's also Morrell is about to leave too. So that's all I got, guys. I was just kind of jogging. I'm at work here. I'm just writing names down as I'm listening to you. I was like, man, there's a lot of crazy ass American fighters. They're mostly with the PBC. They're enablers. They don't, when Top Rank has a troubled guy or the guy doesn't want to fight, they cut him. And it's just, it is what it is, man. So we'll see. I'm glad Boots has got a better promoter, and the PBC fanboys are going to be doing backflips the next couple of weeks.
Hey, but Southpaw, before you go, I just want to clarify something, because so with that list, the point you were trying to make is that a lot of fighters aren't making the right moves. But you mentioned Teofimo Lopez and Shakur Stevenson. Yeah, both of those guys have had inconsistent performances. But wouldn't you say that they are making the right moves, at least in terms of trying to get the best and fighting the best?
Well, yeah, because they got a promoter that's moving them right. They're gonna make them fight the fight, because if Tio said no to fights, then they would cut him. Same thing with Shakur, because that's what they did when Andy Ruiz and even Zurdo Ramirez were turning down fights. They just said, "All right, man, you're wasting our money and our time," so they cut him.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what's helping them out. But why I put Shakur is because his unretirement thing, and with Tio, I just put because he's on hot and cold, and he's just crazy behavior outside the ring that always affects him inside the ring. So that's the only reason I listed those two guys, even though I really respect their skills. And, Top Rank is moving them right. So that's all I got, guys. It's just a long list of American. If you really go list all the American fighters, man, this is why. And I'm glad, because now people can start to look and say, hey, maybe we got to stop blaming promoters and stop listening to the fighters that it's the promoters. No, honestly, these guys are humans, man, and they come usually from rough backgrounds. They don't know how to manage money. They screw people over. They're insecure. A lot of them are from the streets, so the fighters are the problem most of the time.
All right. Well, thank you for your call, Southpaw, and call back next time. Take it easy out there.
Cool, man.
Peace. Yeah, he's making the argument that a lot of these fighters are making the right moves. My hope would be that now with the Saudis trying to, pump in this money and acting as enablers, you could say, that we are going to be getting more of these mega fights, or at least the big fights that we want to see. And when I say big fights, I'm talking about competitive fights, because obviously Shakur Stevenson versus, say, Haney probably wouldn't sell. Most mainstream people don't know who they are, but for boxing fans, that's a fight that, you got two undefeated fighters, blah, blah, blah. Don't forget to hit the like, fellas. Hit the like. It really helps us out. Where are we at with the likes? We're at, 84 likes. No, 94. Hey, that's good. That's more than I expect. So now we're 6 likes away from 100. Guys, hit the 6 people. Just 6 people hit the like. We're at 100, and it really helps us out with the algorithm. That's your good deed for the day. And it takes less than 2 seconds. All right, now let me ask you.
God is watching you. God is watching you right now.
Yeah, unfortunately, God is watching every time you go to the toilet or whatever. But listen, the point is this. I want to
Are you
play
serious?
You guys. Well, I mean, that's what they taught us in Candace's in Sunday school. But look, I want to play you this.
I'm going to be self-conscious every time I go to the bathroom. God damn.
As well you should be, because it's a dirty, dirty thing that you do. Fellas, I want to play you this in regards to the Canelo situation. And by the way, we got boxing today on Pro Box too. A pretty good card, pretty good main event. Angelo Leo, who always brings it, taking on El Cuete Baez, who gave Navarrete a very tough fight before succumbing to a body shot. All right, but I wanted to play you this, guys. And, hold on, that's not it. Yeah, that's definitely not it. Hold on. Where is it? All right, bear with me here. Okay, here we go. This is Juan Manuel Marquez. Now, this is for our Spanish-speaking viewers. Well, I'm going to play. Unfortunately, there's no subtitles for the non-Spanish speaking, but we'll translate it. But I just want to play it straight up. And this is Juan Manuel Marquez, who is an avowed critic of Canelo Alvarez. And you guys saw what happened with David Benavides being inebriated at the last DAZN event on Saturday. Well, this is what Juan Manuel Marquez had to say.
Juan Manuel, ¿qué opinas del comportamiento de Benavides en este duelo el pasado sábado?
Beatriz, no hay que castigarlo tanto. Yo creo que yo siempre he dicho que un ser humano puede disfrutar de repente de algunas cosas, pero tampoco en exceso. No estoy aplaudiendo lo que hizo Benavides, pero todavía no tiene fecha de pelea exacta. Todavía posiblemente no tiene un rival y creo que de alguna forma usted tiene momentos para disfrutar, ¿no? Y ahora que ya se meta a la preparación, que se meta al 100% a prepararse, que se deje de hacer sus cosas, y creo que no es para castigarlo tanto, ¿no? Yo creo que un deportista puede disfrutar de todo, pero todo con medida. Y si en su momento él cometió errores en el pasado, yo creo que esos errores aprendió. Yo creo que castigarlo así de lleno, además aparte pidió una disculpa, lo importante es eso también, y lo importante es que se dedique a entrenar ahorita que ya tenga fecha de pelea.
All right, so I really like Juan Manuel Marquez, but let me just tell you what he was saying here. They asked
Being
him about
a bit of a hypocrite.
Well, let me just to tell people who don't speak Spanish what he said. They asked him about Benavides' behavior on last Saturday, where he was clearly inebriated, and Marquez said, "Well, I don't think we should punish him too much. I mean, everyone's human. Everyone should indulge a little bit in a couple of adult beverages if they choose to. The important thing, he said, is not to do it excessively. And then he said, and by the way, he doesn't have a fight announced yet. So once he gets into training, then he should be training 100%. But then he reiterated that they shouldn't punish him too much. Oh, and then he says, and by the way, he issued an apology, which I think is the important thing, that he's been learning from his mistakes. Guys, what do you think about that? Has Benavides learned from his mistakes, and why is Marquez seemingly insistent on defending Benavides?
Marquez, I like Marquez as a boxing announcer, a boxing commentator. When he does this ESPN Deportes, I like him. When he talking boxing and everything. And I do agree with his past criticisms of Canelo, but there is a little bit of everything he said was fine, but in his tone, it's like you can tell. Like, I'm a Spanish speaker, okay, and I could understand without even looking at him. I could tell he's kind of annoyed by this question. You know what I'm saying? Like, but right, you could tell he's annoyed by it. But I don't think you would be annoyed if it was Canelo. And correct me if I'm wrong. When Canelo was drunk one day, didn't he criticize him like publicly when he was drunk? Didn't he criticize Canelo?
You know what? Yeah. I'd have to double check. He did.
I think he did. And I remember something. I could be wrong, but I remember something like his criticisms of Canelo were maybe appropriate. I mean, that's his opinion, but it was different. Like he didn't have that sour that he had with Benavides.
What I want to say about that was, first off, what's the name? Marquez himself looked a little drunk when they're doing the interview, and the answer he gave, BDA, was just coming out of the mouth of someone he just doesn't like Canelo. Like, everything I heard was like, I hate Canelo. I want David to beat up Canelo. He gave the kind of answer that Booty Loose would have gave if they asked him, why was David drunk and cross-eyed at the DAZN event? You know what I mean?
I must say, Marquez, I think his comments were less gay than Booty Loose's comments. I think Booty Loose would sprinkle in a little bit more fabulousness in his comments. But you're right, though. Yeah, no doubt about that. But my point is, by the way, I want to give a shout out to Don Chingazos for the clip. He's the one that posted it on Sobers' Discord. All right, so we got Recognized and Sobers. They think that Marquez is coming from a dishonest place here, perhaps even enabling Benavides' behavior. But that's my thing, because he said quite clearly there, he said he issued an apology, which is the important thing. But wait a minute, why would he issue an apology for something? Marquez says that it's just an indulgence. He just had a bit of a drink, which he didn't just have a bit of a drink. The guy was fucking wasted. I guess.
A bit of a drink. What kind of thing was that?
Yeah, was he drinking moonshine or something? What's going on? Look, Marquez has really disliked Canelo to the point where he said after that second Triple G fight, he said, well, look, I want to see Canelo fight. I think it was after the rematch, by the way. But he said at one point, I want to see him fight Billy Joe Saunders, Caleb Plant, Callum Smith, blah, blah, blah. And then he did fight all those guys. And he's still on Canelo's ass. So it's quite clear when you ask a guy to do something and he does, and you still find a way to criticize him, either you're an Asian parent or you're just a hater. I hate to use that term, but it's a truth.
PBA, Canelo's Miklo, bro. He's got to go to jail and do life in prison.
Oh. Vatos locos for life, ese.
You got to show his real colors, that's it.
And to your point, does he also like apologize, make whole apology videos because he jaywalked or because he cut somebody off in traffic? You know what I mean? The fuck is he talking about it and indulging? He made a video apology because it was stupid. It was bad for his brand. And that dude is always hated on Canelo. He's going to take whatever the opposite, view. So, I mean, it's dumb. Absolutely dumb for him to be drinking that way. Not good for his career. You have many years after you retire, bro. Have a little fucking discipline. Again, you're the guy who got his belt pulled because one night you were so drunk you started fucking whacking back gaggers.
You know what it is with a guy like Benavides, and he comes from this era. Very talented fighter, really good boxer. I think that if anybody at 168 that could give Canelo a real run for his money and possibly beat him is Benavides. But these dudes, they lack self-awareness, bro. You're in a public setting and you're wasted to the point where you're so if you're slurring your words, right, that means when you get up to stand up and walk, you might fall over, right? Because I've been that drunk. And the two things is like, the reason why I'm talking that way is because I'm kind of like inebriated. I'm kind of like disorganized in a way. So why would you do that publicly when you are presenting yourself as this foe of Canelo? You're gonna be the guy that's gonna challenge Canelo and possibly maybe beat him. But you're showing up drunk. You're getting so drunk to the point, and you didn't have a few drinks, bro. You had a lot of drinks, from what I could tell. You know what I'm saying? Or if you did have a few, that alcohol proof was very high, bro.
Yeah, that's a.
And
First
you
of
know
all,
what
yeah,
doesn't happen? Budweiser reps don't reach out to sign promotional deals with you. You know what I mean? Corporate offices don't say, "Oh yeah, that's a look. That's a good look I want to be associated with." Fucking moron.
Yeah, because you know what? To recognize his point too, some people were saying, "Oh, Benavides, the Zone did Benavides dirty by interviewing him while he was hammered." But like Reckon I said, he put himself in that position by going in there. I'll run aside Canelo. I mean, I think that he needs to throw the right hand. I mean, come on, self-awareness a little bit, man. And that's the thing, because Marquez said the important thing is that he learned from his mistakes. So him getting drunk is when he's already. By the way, they say, oh, he doesn't have a fight sign. He knows he's going to be fighting on Davis's undercard, which Frank Martin just also admitted is taking place this summer. So there is a window where he should know, okay, this fight's going to be happening by this date. I'm going to have to stay sharp. He's out there getting wasted.
And I guess he didn't learn from losing his belts from cocaine. At least he learned his lesson now. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, my big problem right now, what we're talking about is with Marquez, his assessment of it. And look, I was a big fan of Marquez back when everyone was talking about Barrera and Morales in 2003, and then Pacquiao afterwards. I was thinking, look, Marquez is the dark horse of the division. But I hate to use the word hate. Again, I have to reiterate that I don't like calling people haters. But again, when you are constantly on someone's ass, even when they do the right thing, when they're making the right moves, and that there seems to be a dislike there, a hate, if you will, from Marquez towards Canelo. And Nacho Berestein, Marquez's trainer, for a while too, he was on Canelo's behind, criticizing him. But I think at some point he sort of softened up a little bit. By the way, I know I'm using weird words here, behind and then getting soft, behind someone. But you get what I'm saying. He seemed to slow down with the criticism for Canelo, whereas Marquez,
Berstein is slowing down with the criticism. It's because it comes down to consistency, right? You could feel a certain way about a fighter. You could feel like they get certain advantages, whatever. But when you see them constantly being pros and they handle themselves the right way and they take fights after fights after fights, you got to say to yourself, okay, all right, maybe I'm being a little too harsh on him, right? Where I think that when it comes to guys like Marquez was always that dark horse. He was that guy that wasn't invited to the party. He just came, you know what I'm saying, and fought his way through. Where there's resentment, but yeah, I mean, he is. He kind of is. He's that guy that nobody wanted to hang out with, but they're like, oh man, who invited the motherfucker? And he holds his own. Like, you got to give him credit, right? But he's being honest with his assessment, because I'm pretty sure I remember him getting on Canelo when Canelo was like, I think he was drunk outside of Vegas one day. It might have been like after a fight. I don't remember exactly, but he was drunk. You could tell he was out of it. And I remember Mark kind of like holding Canelo, and his voice tone was that of like somebody who wanted to do it,
Right. Well, I mean, yeah,
he Lennox Lewis. I was going to say, it reminds me of the Lennox Lewis, Joshua type thing. Canelo is the biggest Mexican star since, I would say, Oscar, and then before that was Julio. I'm talking about Mexicans who truly are the face of the sport. No questions asked. Like there's a big space between him and the next guy below, and those other two are definitely that at one point too. And some guys, they got type A personality that rubs them the wrong way. They can be petty and jealous, but it's like let it go. And then Lewis, because Lewis was a big champion and everything, but he never sold 90,000, 110,000 seats.
Never close.
What I mean? So it's like they get jealous of that because they feel I'm better than him. I was a more talented kid. And it's like, fuck, why am I getting... And that creeps into your head. And these guys just... I mean, what else can you attribute to? I mean, did Canelo fucking diddle his woman or something at some point?
No,
Like,
wait a minute.
Because at some point it gets to that degree where, like, dude, it's so obviously you don't like the dude. Come out and say why. Because it's making you seem like a petty little fucking... kind of a clown.
All right, first of all, Jimmy, hold on, Jimmy, I gotta, Jimmy, you got some crackling in the background. I don't know if you're on the new on an old phone, the old phone. Go on the new phone. It was working well yesterday when we were talking.
No, I was just walking the dog. I just got back to the front of my house. All right.
Oh, okay. Yeah, recognize
I think in Mexico, BDA. I think in Mexico, because of its history. And think about how big Mexico is, how many people live there. There's like fucking over 100 million people. That there's not going to be unity there. There's no unity, like there's competitiveness within each other. You know what I'm saying? So you're going to get these different parts of Mexico. I don't like that type of Mexican. They giving him favoritism because se parece un blanquito. Like all this shit starts playing into the... This is what I truly believe. You know what I'm saying? I truly believe that. So I think that Marquez is a bit jealous of the attention Canelo gets.
Well, I'll tell you what it is.
Not what he's done in his career. It's like the attention that he gets.
Right. See, I tell you what it is too, recognize. There was a video from about, I want to say 2011. That's when Canelo was still in the shadow of Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. Junior is the guy that they were really trying to push as the next Mexican star. Canelo already had a following in Mexico, but he was struggling a little bit. So he got that vacant belt or whatever against Matthew Hatton, where he didn't even make the weight, by the way. And that's when Marquez took him to task. Because if you remember, Marquez was still, at that point, he was about to become, Mr. Mexico. By knocking out Manny Pacquiao, finally getting the fame that he wanted and the adulation he wanted. And then just as soon as he got it, Canelo starts becoming more famous. So a lot of people posit that is perhaps one of the big reasons why Marquez has held a grudge against Canelo. It's like, hey, fucker, I had to, like you said, I had to go through, like the guy who fights his way into the party, kind of like myself. Nobody ever invited me to a party. I had to show up by myself. And then Marquez finally gets there. And Canelo just shows up, barely fights anybody really, and he's already a bigger star or as big as Marquez was at that point. I gotta think that he resents Canelo a little bit for that. A little bit.
And think about Marquez's road. Think about all the fighters, all the killers he had to fight. So he sees it like, man, I mean, I'm not saying that Canelo didn't have to face tough opponents because he did.
Mm-hmm.
But Marquez is like, man, look at all this shit that I had to go through at a older age. Because when he knocked out Pacquiao, correct me if I'm wrong, he's older than Pacquiao, no?
Yeah, he's 38.
4 or 5 years?
I don't know about how much, but he's older.
He was 38, I think.
I think he's got him by like 4 years, somewhere around there.
Right.
So you think about when he knocked out, got the accolades at 39, 40 maybe, That's when he got the attention from Mexico. So I think definitely there's some jealousy going on.
Yeah, and Jimmy brought up the great example of Lewis and Joshua. Because people, near the end, Lewis did become a bit of a draw. But he had to fight guys like Tyson and Holyfield together. And I think that's what sort of sticks in a lot of these guys' craws is that, hey, man, this guy, I had to fight these killers. And this guy, before he even fought those killers, was already getting more traction with the public than I did. And again, look, I understand Marquez's frustration, but it's one thing to be jealous, and it's one thing to be envious. That's when it starts getting dangerous. Because jealousy, okay, it's normal. Everybody feels jealousy. But envy means if I can't have what this guy has, then I'm going to take it away from him so that he doesn't have it either. None of us will have it. That is a horrible line of thinking. Dare I say, satanic in nature, and it just does very few people any good in the long run. But also sticking to this Benavides thing. I just want to clarify, because Samson Lukowicz, he says one thing one day and then he says another thing the other day. So it's kind of hard to know what he's saying or to believe what he says. He claims now, and we mentioned this in the last episode, that Benavides walks around at 220 pounds. Now, this is him doing training. Now, keep in mind, he's next to Barrera, who's about 5 feet 6 inches tall. And Benavides does have a big sweater on. So, but does he look like a guy that walks around at 220 pounds? What do you guys think?
He's standing next to him. It looks like looks like the El Gigante from WCW against
Gigante.
But I mean, it's largely because of, like you say, standing next to Barrera. That's the reason why it looks the difference in height. But 200. I'm on my phone, but
God, he looks like a monster, bro. Like, okay, he's listed as 6'2" or 3, right?
I would say an easy 6'3".
Yeah, I would say more like 6'3".
By that picture, I have no idea what it is.
I have no, yeah, exactly. Because sometimes, you can wear clothes that makes you look a lot taller than you are.
Right.
Okay, it said that he walks around 220, which makes sense. A guy about 6'2", 6'3", who's in good physical shape, walks around at that, more or less at that weight, right? So, you got to say to yourself, because I remember this going into the and I think it was Lukowicz that said, or it was Benavides that said, going into camp, he was 215 in good shape. So, okay, you understand what he's saying? He has to maintain. It doesn't come natural to him. 220, 215 does not come natural to him. That means that if he's not training, right? He's not in the gym working out, doing his cardio, doing his prep work. He goes up. He goes more up in weight. And this is a guy that comes down to 168. Okay, the elephant in the room for me is this. So at 215, and I'm not trying to start a conspiracy, right? But at 215, and then you go down to 168, that's almost 50 pounds of weights you're dropping. And then on fight night, you're so strong that you beat up a guy who's, supposed to be your size, like he was nothing. What the fuck is this guy taking? That's all I want to know. Okay, I don't care. I say ban PEDs. Period. I mean punishment for PEDs. That's my theory on that. There should be no punishment for that. But
you want an even playing field? Take the same thing the other guy's taking.
Right. I want to know what the fuck he's taking that he could drop 50 pounds of weight. Okay, good shape weight too. He said it. And then on fight night, you're super strong. You're like so strong that this guy, you're walking through him like paper.
Well, can I just say this, man? First of all, people in the chat are ruthless. People are saying, El Pachuco says, is that a Neanderthal? Warp Speed says he looks like the Geico caveman. If you remember him from those Neanderthals. Jim TC says it looks like if Andre the Giant was a crackhead. I mean, come on, guys. What is this? I'm not a fan. Listen, hold on. I'm not a fan of these people, making fun of people's appearance. I mean, they're funny comments, but come on, guys. Let's be respectful.
Well,
yeah.
Well, I was gonna say, to be honest though, like if you look at his shoulders, he's narrow-shouldered. He doesn't have very wide shoulders at all. If you look at him from behind, so he's got narrow shoulders, so he wouldn't be carrying. Like, he wouldn't carry 220 the way, say, Recognize would carry it. Because Recognize got wider shoulders. And he's got more rounded muscle belly.
Well,
Where he's got long... well, just the way, everybody has a body type. And I'm just saying his body type, that's the reason why he holds a lot of fat around his midsection. So if he's getting up to 220 at his body type, that's a lot of fat. So I don't know why he would be telling him that. Unless he's saying that to get into thinking, like, overconfident. Because anybody who has to shed that much weight, that's a lot of weight to shed, and could make the guy you're fighting overconfident.
Well,
so
because again, nobody
or he's just talking shit.
But let me just say this,
First
because
of all,
Jimmy's right. But hold on, Jimmy. Jimmy makes a good point, though, because again, this is Samson Lukowicz saying this. And remember, he says one thing one day, he says the other the next. So should we really believe him that Benavides gets up to 220? I mean, I don't know.
Well, let's pretend for a second he does. Let's pretend for a second that he does. Let's go off of what Jimmy said. Basically, we're talking about proportionate Diego Corrales.
Mm-hmm.
Corrales is really tall, really narrow-shouldered, long-limbed. Like Jimmy also said about the roundness of like the muscle bellies and stuff like that. Corrales didn't have any of that. He didn't have those cannonball shoulders. He didn't have huge biceps. He was long, lanky, and had that Tommy Hearns power from the torque of his arms because the wingspan was so wide, right? Benavides has got very similar. If he's coming down from 220, first of all, you're not shedding that much muscle on a regular basis and staying at that weight as long as he has without serious damage to your body. Two, let's say that he's coming down from 220, like he said. Whoever says I'm coming down from 220 pounds of fat? Nobody.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody admits the fact that I was sitting on the couch eating Cheetos. The next thing I know, I was 220 and I had to drop weight fat. No one's going to say that. No one's going to admit to that. So he can say he's in good shape, and to him, he might be. Because when you're not training, you're probably going to the gym maybe 3 times a week, boxing for like anywhere between 3 to 8 rounds just to try and maintain. And if he's not tired, he's refreshed at the end of each workout, and he thinks he's working hard because he's not pushing himself. Then yeah, I was 220 of good shape because he could do 8 rounds, right? When it comes time to doing 12 and he has to push himself, you're not burning through 50 pounds of muscle. First of all, you're not doing that and still being strong. Jimmy, tell me if I'm wrong.
Oh no, you're right. If you're, it's going to affect you. If you're because he's going to be chewing off a lot of weight. That's a big ask to the body. The body gets accustomed to certain weight, so yeah, that could shock you. You could, get a second wind. A lot of times you'll see when somebody's taking off too much weight, they're almost ashy looking or they're grayish colored, and they don't break you don't see them get a second sweat going. Everything's all fucked, especially if they lose the weight through a sauna. But yeah, no, I agree with you.
So
can I just say
the first of the pudding, he's not coming down from 220 of muscle. That one, I don't think it's possible to do that as many times as he's had to do it since he first won that belt. I don't think it's possible. And then 2, the signs aren't there. Narrow shoulders, and the other things that Jimmy said, that the body type that he has is not lean, sculpted muscle. It's usually loose skin. So there's nothing there saying the fact that he's coming down from 220 pounds of being in shape. And then lastly, like I said, he's never going to admit if he wasn't in shape to begin with. Thank you, BDA.
Well, thank you, first of all. You guys are making some great points. I just want to say, when people say, Benavides is 6 feet 2 inches tall, 220 pounds, that's big. He's got a long way to go before he impresses me with that type of weight. But that's just me. For most people, he's a big dude. And here's the other interesting thing about that is, when you look at his fight against Caleb Plant, for example, Caleb Plant's got wide shoulders. He's got those pterodactyl-like traps. He's a pretty decent-sized super middleweight. And Benavides was taller than him. Upper body-wise, yeah, he perhaps not as strong, although he does have a thick trunk. And then on top of that, his legs. Look at his legs. They're not exactly skinny legs. Like if you would look at a guy like Wilder or Tommy Hearns, for example, if you go back a couple of years, 30 years, very skinny legs. They look like scarecrows. This dude, Benavides, has decent-sized legs. So I'm thinking...
Because
what's that?
Because he's a big boy, BDA. Okay, so when he was about 13, 14 years old, he went to go live with his dad, but he had a weight issue. He was 250 at 13, 14.
Cry me a river, you.
Yeah. Now he got taller, obviously, right? From that point of his life. So he stretched out. But as he became older, he started hitting the late teens, early 20s. That became he starts packing on more weight as he get muscle weight. So as he's losing the fat, right, he's trimming himself down. He's gaining some muscle weight too, and it's becoming leaner weight. So he's not a little short, fat, pudgy kid.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I say to myself, how is it that this guy who walks now, Lukowicz, this is the second time I've heard it, saying that he was about 220. He walks around at 220. And I've heard Benavides say that in good shape he's about 215, right? So basically the same shit. Bro, you coming down to 168 in good shape already, so you're maintaining shape already to be at a certain weight, and then you're gonna drop another 50 pounds. That's insane, man. That's just insane to me. It's like it makes me interested in like, what are you doing to do that, and then be strong, or at least in the last fight against Andre, you know. And I know Andre's still overrated, but he's still a human being, bro. It's still a man punching at you who's in good shape. You know what I'm saying? And you just walk right through him like he was nothing.
Well, Handful Boxing Review in the chat makes a good point. He says, if this is true that Benavides walks around at 220, he's 6'2", 220. That's the same weight thereabouts in which Usyk fights at. I think his last fight against Dubois, he weighed in 220 something or 220. So it's a big guy, man, if it's true.
He's the same size as an in-shape Usyk.
Jeez, Luis. That's something, man. That's really something. Sticking with this Canelo thing, I wanted to address, have any of you guys seen the clip from Pro Box, which, by the way, they have a good main event today, as I mentioned, Angelo Baez versus Angelo Leo versus Elicuete Baez. That's the Rocket, for those of you that don't speak Spanish. But okay, so they have Chris Algieri on the payroll. They have Paulie Malignaggi and Timothy Bradley. And they have these little powwows where they talk about, and one of the big subjects has been the fact that Malignaggi keeps calling out Canelo. Have you guys seen the latest episode where Malignaggi said that Canelo is disgracing himself and he pales in comparison to Muhammad Ali, the greatest? Well, did you guys hear any of that?
Nah, I didn't hear it, bro.
All I seen was a video that Billy Hoyle and the Pimps, where they're making fun of Paulie for hating on Canelo.
Okay, let me play that, man. And but shout out to Billy Hoyle, man. He really does a good job of going around the YouTube. Yeah, he does a very good job of going around the YouTube boxing community rather, and collecting these clips. You guys should subscribe to his channel. And by the way, Sobers, you have a new channel too, right? Billy Hoyle and the Pimps.
Billy Hoyle and the Pimps.
But Sobers, you have a new channel too, right? Because you ran into some issues, copyright issues. You want to let people know where they can, where La Taqueria is at now?
I'll drop the link in the chat because I got to change the name of the channel. Right now it's under Eldritch Thoughts, right?
Hey, Sobers, you got a 24-hour taqueria or what? What's going on?
I don't know, man. So I'm seeing if I can get some guys coming over.
All right.
I can pay them 50 cents on the dollar, on the hour, and get them.
All right, there we go. Now we talk.
Well, by the way,
Mr. BDA, real quick, could you spell out that Hoyle? How to spell Hoyle?
No, I can't, man. You're right.
Hoyle, I'm guessing.
Well, I'll put it up. I'll put it in the chat here. How about that? Would that work for you, Jimmy?
That's the lovely. Thank you.
That would be lovely. All right.
I like that.
Yeah, the way he said it, he was mocking me. Hold on. Shit.
Thank you, buddy. Thank you.
By the way, Sobers will be back up and running at Taqueria. He just has to pay off the health department. They gave him an F. The last
I gotta get rid of this health inspector. I gotta make a couple calls about some people I know.
That's right.
You know what it was? It was my boy Booty Juice spreaded a rumor that he's been killing rats and selling them as meat. That's what happened. Yeah.
That's what they do, huh? In New York, recognize that the Chinese
how we get rid of competition.
Oh, jeez, Luis. All right, so this is the clip. I haven't watched it, so we'll see what it's about. This is from Billy Hoyle and the Pimps.
I'm being real, Paulie. It seems like you have something against Canelo. No.
It was among the Italians. It was real greaseball shit.
I'm just saying it's different, Paulie. At the end of the day, and it's not Canelo's fault that the sanctioning bodies are not forcing him to. Imagine Muhammad Ali did that.
Is Ali the same fighter that got beat by a fighter with 7 fights?
Still a sportsman, and he needs to push the sport. The sport has to move. The hamster wheel has to turn.
It was among the Italians. It was real greaseball shit.
Nobody on this panel has been on the level of Canelo. Not including myself.
It's
I've
not
never
even
been on the level of.
But it doesn't.
Hey, that's saying something, man, because Bradley had a pretty good career. I mean, take a look at some of the top 140 pounders he beat. Kendall Holt, Lamont Pearson, who was undefeated, Junior Witter, who was a murderous puncher, and he beat him in England. And he's saying, look, Canelo's above us, with all due respect. That's saying something from Timothy Bradley.
Talking about like Benavides, like he's some gangster, like, you know what I mean? Like he's supposed to dominate Canelo and so on and so forth. I don't think so. I don't think so. And Benavides, didn't he walk away from an opportunity to face against Morrell?
All right, but when people keep bringing up Morrell, though, it's almost like they're trying to say two wrongs make a right or something. What do you guys think about that argument? When people say, well, Canelo hasn't even fought him, and then people go, yeah, but Benavides avoided Morrell. I mean, is that a fair argument?
Yeah, it's a fair assessment, because if you're that killer, you're trying to let everybody believe you are, then you take out Morrell. Here's a guy who's calling you the worst kind of fucking vile names possible. Here's a guy that your own promoter tweeted out that the fight deal was made, that you were going to fight him, and then you turned around and said, I don't know anything about that, and then just let it fucking fall. So if you're that guy, bash this dude's fucking brains in. Take him out and go, yeah, what next? Make it so there's no excuse. But when you stand by and you tiptoe through the fucking field mines, doing whatever you have to do to make sure you don't fucking lose that or lose your position to get that fucking Canelo sweepstakes. It's like, to me, like, dude, come on. You didn't fucking fight it. This kid was itching to fight you. He only has 11 fights. I mean, you heard Benavides fans saying, it's not even fair. The kid only has like 11 fights. Well, all the more reason. Go out and spank him. You're that killer. Take him out. But you didn't. You wanted nothing to do with them.
And you know
I
what,
think it's 100% legitimate.
Yeah, that's a good way of putting it there, Jimmy. Fair point. And also, look, I'm of the opinion, I'll just reiterate it, because we've talked about this ad nauseum. I do think Canelo Benavides is going to happen, but there's a couple of things from the Benavides side that are indicative of, just like with Jaron Ennis, that they don't really know how to handle their fighters. Lukowitz says that, we offered him 120 mil. No, 50 mil. And then when Reynoso says a couple of hours later, that never happened, Lukowitz takes down the tweet. That looks very bad, because he's admitting he lied. He never said to Reynoso, hey, no, that's a lie. We did offer this. So that's number one. Number two, Benavides is not the mandatory. He has yet to enforce that mandatory, and that's why he's fighting at 175 now, and then they're going to decide after that fight, if he wins, whether he's going to go back down to 168 and enforce his mandatory. So it's been very bizarre the way the Benavides, they claim they won the fight, but then they go through all these circuitous routes to avoid that really pressing the issue. But also, here's the other thing I wanted to point out, and I said this earlier in the Discord. Very few people, I don't know of anybody that said, hey, Jaron Ennis, there's rumors he's about to leave the PBC. Okay, maybe in December we saw that Eddie Hearn was chasing him down. But in the last week, usually these type of things get leaked out a little bit on Twitter. We didn't see any of that. So things can be kept under wraps. And that's why I think it's going to be the same thing with Canelo Benavides. I wouldn't be surprised if after Canelo Munguia, they announced that fight right on the spot. Same thing they did after Canelo beat Chavez and they announced the Golovkin fight in the ring. They can keep it under wraps. So all these people wasting their time saying, this guy's avoiding this guy. No, it's the other guy that's avoiding him. I think at the end of the day, it's going to be a moot point. That's what I think. But
I
back
agree,
to this,
because he also said that, didn't he? He said, well, somebody asked him, well, what about September? I don't know. We'll see. It's like they said kind of two different things, but it is key too. Like you mentioned, they never even petitioned to be his mandatory. Like they never pushed WBC, even after fucking Suleiman said, I will make the winner, I will mandate that fight. But just because he says it, so he's opening the door, that means your promoter needs to petition him, which means a fee. You got to pay him, and then he'll make it a mandatory, meaning Canelo would have 30 days to negotiate that fight with you. If not, it goes to a purse bid. And if he still chooses not to make it or not fight somebody else, they'll strip him of his belt. But that can't happen unless it's mandated.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, they don't walk the way they talk. And again, It could be because they're fighting him and they know it in September. we'll see.
Yeah, Jimmy, there's, like Jimmy said, there's a disconnect with what they say and then what they do. But let's also go back to this clip here about Malignaggi going at it on Pro Box with Timothy Bradley.
David Morrell in the division, if he's that damn bad, he would have took that fight with Morrell. But the reason why he would have.
But it's still on Canelo though, because
And power is the last thing to go, Paulie.
Yeah,
Canelo does have power.
But you know, we're gonna still talk about it, like you guys said. I mean, Canelo is still a very popular fighter.
Paulie, don't sound so down. This is a good fight.
Oh, come on.
Get him out. Get him out. Oh, stop. Stop right there. Let's go.
All right, just to in Paulie's defense, he was completely out of shape when he was sparring McGregor when they brought him in there. They bamboozled him. But here's the thing with Malignaggi. By the way, that the channel is Billy Hoyle and the Pimps. Shout out to him for that video. Billy Hoyle and the Pimps. Shout out to Billy Hoyle. But Malignaggi seems like the type of hot-headed, and Jimmy, you have more experience with this. He's a hot-headed guinea that doesn't let things go. Because remember, he never let it go with McGregor. And it seems like once he's got his hooks on something, and in this case Canelo, he refuses to let go. Do you think that's a fair assessment, or what do you think is going on here?
Oh yeah, he's stubborn guinea. You know, with the one of those dudes, right? Yeah, he just starts stuttering like a fucking fool when he gets angry, and yeah, no, he just won't let it go. It's like, dude, get off your fucking high. First off, like, dude, come on. It's just, dude, you fucking floated like a fucking butterfly, and you stung like one too. You're one of the lightest punching boxers who ever fought. You fucking Broner punked you in front of the world. I took you in, your girl. I beat you up and took your girl. She was just a side piece. She was just a side piece, he's yelling. Like, come on, dude. I can't get that shit out of my fucking mind every time I hear him talk. But, yeah, listen, Paulie has some good takes now and then. But it's biases. People don't like people for whatever reason. Maybe Canelo shunned him off. Like, you know, he probably walked up to him, hey, I'm Paulie Malignaggi. Yeah. Fucking, you know, it's like, get the fuck out of here, you little greaseball.
Oh.
You know?
You know
what?
Look
how long Paulie was just raking Pacquiao across the coals on being a steroid guy. But he wouldn't call out Floyd when the article came out about the IV. So, like you said, it's biased. It's not objective at all. The guy that recognized the friend, quote unquote, friend of mine that recognized as I talked to offline about boxing. We'll just call him Telly Savalas. Says that Paul Malignaggi is one of the best commentators ever heard. And when I say he's biased, he's like, no, he calls it like it is. I said, oh, then how come? And I brought up that scenario. So why does he rate Manny across the coals for using steroids, but he won't talk about Floyd and the IV? And of course, this guy's a Floyd fanboy, so he's, well, I mean, he was just dehydrated, you know. But back to the whole thing about Malignaggi, that shows his lack of objectivity. Whoever he likes, he will sing their praises. Whoever he dislikes, he'll try and rake him across the coals, and he gets emotional about it. Like Jimmy says, he starts stuttering when he's commentating and stuff. If he doesn't like someone, he gets too emotional. And you're not paid to be emotional. You're a commentator. You're not fighting anymore. You're retired. He had a decent career, had 2 belts, 2 divisions. I'm not gonna say he was overrated per se for his entire career. For a guy that lacked a punch, he accomplished a lot. All right, so Paulie, take notes. This is being objective. For a guy that didn't have much of a punch, he did accomplish a lot. He fought a lot of big names and gave a lot of them tough fights. But at the end of the day, that's all you were. And now you're a commentator. No one's paying you to be emotional anymore. So anyway. That's all I got to say.
You know what? Yeah, listen, Paulie Malignaggi was a very good commentator over at Showtime, and it was a shame that they had to get political and throw him off the bus because Wilder apparently who requested it. But he's a good commentator. But it's quite clear at this point that he's willing to die on a hill whose foundation is made up of inaccuracies here at this point. And I mean, I don't know. I don't know why he would continue to go down that route. Or maybe, look, listen. Maybe I'm speculating here. Pro Box is still getting started in a way as a company, and it's been doing very well. I like it. It's a hardcore fans' dream at this point, in that they really do talk boxing and give you some good fights for free. So maybe Malignaggi is really laying it on a little bit thick to create a little controversy, because not for nothing, but that's how it is nowadays with the sports programs, and ESPN is the one that's to blame for this, with guys like Jim Rome and Stephen A. Smith and all that. They become the personality, and it's about really fighting another guy's opinion, like two guys having polar opposite opinions. So maybe that's what he's doing. He's playing that angle to create a little bit more controversy, a little bit more pizzazz. But I don't know. You just never know. Yeah, but I don't know why he would choose to die on this hill. And again, it's Benavides. It's that he hasn't enforced his mandatory. Even before he had a chance to do so, he already decided, I'm going to fight at 175 against Gvalzik. His promoter wanted the TV rights when they were negotiating with Canelo, and then they lied about the $50 million offer. So there's a lot of evidence pointing to the fact that it ain't Canelo's fault here. But
and to the people that try and point the finger at Canelo about doing the duck and everything else like that, when it comes time to all this, they neglect the fact that Benavides, as we just pointed out, Morrell's been calling Benavides out for how long now? And I'm just reiterating what people have already said, but he's been calling him off for over a year now. They're under the same umbrella, and Benavides isn't taking this fight. So he's basically acting like the guy he beat, Boo Boo Andrade. He's just calling out for a payday. Because if he was really serious about wanting to prove a point, he would have actually gone out of his way and fought Morrell, and just like Jimmy said, and said, okay, who's next? I'm going to take everybody on until there's nobody left. He never exercised his mandatory. I'm just repeating everything we've already said, and so I'm not going to go too much longer on that. But when it all comes down to it, when you do the math of adding all this up, it equals, a cloud of no answers. Of like, what are you doing? Are you just clouting for a payday to try and make yourself look important, or what? Because you're not putting the work in. You've got opportunities around, and you're not making the most of them. And you haven't been doing this for years. How long has he been towards the top of the WBC? Between interim champ, number one contender, and everything else, since he lost it last time, which is what, 2-3 years ago? So the better, closing on half a decade, you've done nothing to try and get your belt back.
Absolutely. And listen, I think the fight is going to happen. I just think it's bad management and from the PBC at this point. I don't know what they're doing over there, but I do think the fight's going to happen. And by the way, I will say that Benavides has fought the guys that we wanted him to fight, even though Andrade was coming up in weight and severely overrated. But the fact is, he fought him and he did fight Plant. But the Morrell one, yeah, it does seem to be sticking in his craw in terms of for what a lot of fans want. But again, I think this fight's going to happen. So we just had to hunker down and wait for it. The other thing is, fellas, we do have to go. We're at the 2-hour mark. And like I said, go to Pro Box today on YouTube. The main event should be a good one, at least on paper, between El Cuete Baez and Angelo Leo. It's going to be a good one. And that's about it, really. Shout out to everybody who joined us. I'm talking about Sobers, Jimmy, Boxing Chief, Recognize was here as well. Shout out to those guys. Shout out to everybody that called in. Everybody in the chat, shout out to you fellas. Really appreciate your support. Don't forget to hit the like on the way out, fellas. If you've yet to do so, hit the like, hit the like. Also subscribe if you've yet to do so. That really helps us out as well. And that's about it, fellas. Thanks again for joining us. Catch you on the next one. Take it easy out there. Have a good evening.
I'm disappointed in every one of you.
I'm sorry, I don't mean to offend you.
I'm disappointed in every one of you.
I kiss you on the mouth.
No, I'm not cool with that. I'm sorry.
One more time.
I'm disappointed in every one of you.
I mean, I'm dealing with degenerate animals.
Thank you for using Blog Talk Radio. Goodbye.
All right, come on.
Honestly, I can't do it, man.
I'm disappointed in everyone.
Then let me tell you why.
It's gonna be all right, Nicky. Go ahead. Shoot.
He just killed a little fucking man.
What are you going to do about it?
Yeah, because you got nothing. You don't got a thing. Yeah, because you got nothing. Lobito. You got nothing.
I want to get out. I want to get out of this rat hole. I want to get online. I need
BDA Boxing.